Sup, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the Best Gaming Podcast 508 to talk about Monster Hunter, Split Fiction. What else? Monster Hunter, Split Fiction. Um, some business deals that look like they've gone bad for a couple companies. Unfortunately, some more
Yeah,
layoffs, which absolutely suck balls.
the Atomfall preview.
Atom Fall preview. Yeah. Um, it's actually been a pretty busy one now that I think about it. I always forget how busy it was through the week, and then we jump in, and it's like, oh shit, there's a bunch of shit to cover. What have you been playing?
So I've been playing some Monster Hunter on the off time, and yesterday I started playing Split Fiction with Rejaku from the podcast.
Right.
We've been having a really good time in that.
Mm-hmm. How
Yeah.
long did you guys play?
So we played a solid 3-4 hours yesterday, and like another 2 hours today.
Mm-hmm. So that's halfway through.
I don't know. I feel like we're getting there. Yeah, maybe a little under halfway.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what it feels
Uh,
like.
thank you everybody for joining. What's up, Zaxby? What's up, everybody else? We're just going to jump into this because we do have a bunch of stuff. I do want to say thanks to the patrons who've joined up. Also, we had some people that weren't getting into the Discord. It's because I found out yesterday when they join up on YouTube, they need to actually merge their own YouTube account with Discord so that their YouTube account tells my YouTube account that they are a member, which then moves them in. So there were people who left and they were like, oh, I didn't get in, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, it states it, but I even put a big alert on there. So anybody who tries to join up the YouTube membership, there should now be an alert there, tells you to go to an FAQ. What would you say Split Fiction? It's open critics like 95, 92,
Yeah,
95.
yeah, it's
Would you
reviewing
say
insanely well.
would you say it's worth 92 or 95? I mean, honestly, being totally honest, would you say, okay, that game is a 95?
I think so, with the caveat that we're not finished, right? So
Right.
it's not like a full opinion, but so far it's delivered pretty much at the level of the prior games,
Mm-hmm.
which has been like it's consistently fun. It's shaking up the gameplay at all times. The co-op it is at the level of like the best co-op experiences out there that I've had.
Would you
And
say more
it's
fun than the last one?
I think to me yes, because I do like the merge between fantasy and sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan of both genres, I did like it. And plus I also actually like the personality clash a little bit. It was funny because in some ways they were similar to our own personalities,
Mm-hmm.
or at least the contrast between Reg and I.
Right.
So Reg, not a big talker, right?
Yeah.
Man of few words,
Yeah.
type of thing. I'm much more of like a sharer, and
Mm-hmm.
just talkative and stuff. And we have these funny moments sometimes where I'm just telling him something, and he's like, "I don't remember asking." Right, in a funny way. He's not
Right.
being
Right.
a dick
No,
about
I
it,
know.
but
I know.
he's like, but that kind of happened in game, and that was really fun. And some of the banter and interactions and gameplay that emerged was pretty much at the level of like core memory unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
If people get that reference from the movie where you have like something really that will stick with you for the years.
Right.
We had a few of those with Takes Two, and we've already had a couple of those here that I think are gonna be like memorable moments. Definitely an amazing game to play with a friend, I would say,
Yeah.
compared to like a random person.
It was funny that came up yesterday in chat. One of the people was like, yeah, they give you such a deal because you can play with your friend for free. And I was like, or do they not give you a deal because you can't play it alone? And he's like, damn, I never thought about that. I'm like, well, if you do, it's like it
Yeah,
is awesome that they give you that deal, but at the same time, they would have to. Because can you imagine if they were like,
yeah.
it would be like all the other
You
games
can't
that
experience this
multiplayer
game
only, or
unless you have. Yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
cannot. You legitimately cannot experience anything about the game. Would you say that is it more about doing stuff together but on the same screen, or more about doing true co-op? You need somebody else to
So they
go
they
through.
do a mix. At times it's a shared screen,
Mm,
and you have to navigate together. At times it's split. but pretty much all the time you need the other person to progress.
Okay.
So you don't have situations where one person is miles ahead of the other one,
Hmm.
which I think is good. That would be a bit awkward if you could sort of each go at your own pace.
Hmm.
You are forced to, you know, help each other out as you progress.
Like, is it simple shit like a teeter totter, or is it like advanced stuff
Some of
where?
it, so it gets a bit more intricate. Like there are sections where it's really quick and real time. So
Hmm.
maybe you're in the middle of platforming and jumping around, and there are some things with which only one person can interact
Hmm.
and activate, and some things that the other person has to do, and you have to react to that as you're jumping from like one thing to another. And you do one, the next person does another, you have to like recognize and see it coming. So I would say it gets a bit intricate, and it's not trivial is what I would say, which is good, because in that way it doesn't get old,
Hmm.
since it's also changing.
And graphics, performance, what do we got for like
I
the way
mean,
it runs?
I think it looks amazing,
Okay.
and I haven't had a single technical problem in the game,
That's always good to
not a
hear.
single stutter or anything like that. It runs phenomenal. I didn't even dial in any of the settings. It doesn't. Maybe the negative is it doesn't have a ton of
Hmm.
graphical settings. So if you do have issues, I guess you don't have as many ways to work around them. But I would say for me, it just worked.
It
And of
just
course, I have
worked.
a good system. But yes, it for me it just worked in 4K. Beautiful.
Yeah, you got called. You got called a couple days ago. The Magic System. You were in our chat, and we were
The
talking.
Magic
I think
PC.
Absy
Yeah.
jumped back in. We were all
Yep. No
playing Monster,
crashes.
and
Monster
Absy's like
Hunter.
Magic PC on
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. It is so funny that depending on what you try to do, like we were talking prior to the podcast, you can have Magic PC in one place. Like for reviews, I'm pretty set. But when we try to stream, everything's set for reviews, and it's like
Yep.
the moment you
Yeah.
switch over, it's like
It's doomed.
unmagic PC, black magic PC. Um, yeah, it sounded cool. What I saw was cool. I was pretty frustrated with the situation that cropped up with me because I had I've reviewed all of them. I love these games, and so
Yeah.
when I got the ability to review it, and then I was told straight up no longer than 10 minutes of total footage. And I DM'd them like a couple times going, I don't quite understand how you're expecting me to review this with no longer than 10 minutes. They said, yep, no longer than 10 minutes total footage. And I was like, okay. And so you and I passed it up. Videos come out, fucking 40 minutes of footage. So
Dude.
when I DM the PR contact, I'm like, listen, I'm not mad, whatever. Stuff happens. But I'm like, I did ask 3 times, like I did ask three
Yeah.
times. They're like, no videos have more than 10 minutes. And I was like, what?
Legitimately
We watched
not
it in
true.
the stream. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm looking in the stream. This is longer than 10 minutes. No. And if they do, we'll remove them because we don't want longer than 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I don't think we're on the same. I don't think we're using the same. This is what I'm talking about. Yep, none of them have that. And I just kept looking at it. I'm like, all right, thank you. I'm just moving on. I'm like, I have no clue
Yeah,
what happened
there
with
was
that.
a lot of weirdness around the review process,
There
and
was. There
we
was.
probably can't get into a lot of
Well, and
the
it's not
detail,
even
but
really a real issue. It's just like the way
yeah,
sometimes they go.
yeah,
Monster Hunter had some stuff that you were like, you can't talk about something. You're like, dude, this is how do you add context to the entire reason why somebody may say something is worthwhile if you can't talk about what's friggin' worthwhile? You know? It's like
yeah,
really difficult, and you have to not argue, but you have to sort of almost put your foot down, or not put
yeah,
your foot down, I guess, even that's wrong, but sort of argue like a lawyer to get them to understand that all you're trying to do is be like, dude, we just want to cover your game. Like, we're not gonna. I don't know. They're probably worried about spoilers now. I mean, all of
yeah.
a couple games that are coming out, I found them
Do you
online.
think you're gonna circle back and play this one? I'd play it with
Well,
you if
that's
you
what
want later.
bothers me is it's so difficult to set time aside to play something like that. And I am
Yeah,
a person who likes the zeitgeist of all of us coming in chat. So I'm not going to shut down chat if they're talking about it. You know me, I like spoilers anyway. Like, you can tell me the end of a movie and I'll be like, awesome, let's see how it gets there. I'm never bothered. But if you guys are all talking about it, I'll probably have felt like I've experienced what I want to experience, and there's other things that I'll experience new. Probably
Yeah,
not on this one.
it
Um,
sucks, man.
yeah, if I had, it's like, dude, the problem is I also feel bad if I'm like, hey, man, do you have 12 hours to set aside to play a game that, maybe you've already played one? You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like while you're trying to run Monster Hunter fucking guilds and stuff, it feels like I'm putting, obviously you've offered, but which is nice of you, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
I
I
get
always
you.
feel a little set out where I'm like, well, if I,
But I mean, it's also tricky. Like you say, 12 hours is quite a lot. We need
mm,
set aside
yeah.
several sessions to get in there.
It's
So
great
it's
that
just not
it's
easy.
that long though.
Yeah.
Like to me,
Yeah.
this got to be the longest one, right? Yeah, it's got to be the
Yeah, I think
longest
It
of their
Takes Two
games.
much meatier than A Way Out.
Oh wait, a way out. Yep, we
Oh,
got
right.
it right,
Yeah, there,
or I got
you
it
got it
right.
right this
I,
time.
I listened to you this time before I gave the answer, but yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, I hesitated for a second.
So did I because when I said it yesterday, I heard Reg doesn't say a word. I just hear a chuckle from the
And you
background.
know
I knew
immediately.
immediately.
Okay.
I'm like,
Uh,
yeah, a way out, or I don't remember what I called it, but I just hear, and I'm like, God.
Yeah.
I just waited. I'm like, yeah, that
Yep.
for sure got that wrong.
Since
It's so
day
awesome.
one, you've called it No Way Out, and
Yeah,
that
I
just
know, I know.
became.
And
Yep.
it was all because of a joke about there being no way out and of like being stuck playing it multiplayer.
Yeah.
And from that point on, got screwed. Yeah, got screwed. Get stuck in my old brain pan. What are the controls like? What would you say? Would you say like the controls are they bog standard third person action game? Is it 2D
Yep.
platformer? Is it a mix? Like
The
what?
only complaint I have is you
Mhm.
have to use L3 to sprint. I'm not a fan of using L3 to sprint.
L3 is
Pressing the
your
joystick.
stick?
Yeah, like pressing the stick to
Hmm,
sprint.
right.
A lot of games do it. Fair enough. It works fine in game. I personally have like back pedals, so I just use that. So
Right.
not a problem for me. I'm not a fan of that, but the controls are pretty good. You have some. Most of the time, you're using the triggers RT, LT, or L2, R2,
Hmm.
and yeah, usually they're pretty intuitive. I would say.
Okay. I know
Yeah.
for you're going blurry too.
Ah.
Today's already
ah,
getting off with a good start. Um, it is funny though because I like when I look at those kind of games and the control scheme. There's another game coming out that I don't know if it's been announced, so I don't want to say.
mm,
I think it has because I'm pretty sure I read this, but they were like, "Do you know what happens when you play games? You grip the controller harder." So we decided the best bet for our action game is the L button, is the stick in. Oh, it's Doom, the new Doom.
Oh.
The read up on the new Doom stated that they decided that, oh, yeah, you grip the trigger more. So we decided that the most natural and most efficient way of controlling all of your attacks in the new Doom is by pushing the stick in. And I was reading it going, so I did the old thing where you rub your eyes and you're like, that can't be possible.
Yeah, it's
And
like
I
a
read it
double
again
take.
and I'm like,
Did I read that
did I read that?
correctly?
So hopefully with those guys, I don't remember the
Yeah,
last games if they allowed for a bunch of
but they
adjustments to
improved their
controls,
movement,
but
by the way. I noticed like the movement is much more fluid, and you have a dash, a roll if you do like two dashes, and you have double jump. You can dash in the air, and it's super responsive. It feels really good.
you're talking about the game you're playing, right? Not Doom.
No, Split Fiction.
Making
Yeah,
sure.
Split Fiction.
Cool.
Yeah, like
So
the
it feels better.
actual engine movement stuff feels
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. No, that's
And
awesome.
also, like one thing they do, I don't remember if they did it in the prior one, but the platforming is kind of sticky. So if you have like some pogo sticks you're gonna jump on, when you jump, as long as you jump within the area of it, it will like snap to it instead of having to aim perfectly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like making that part a little bit easier, at least,
Absy and
which
I
is
were
nice.
talking about the platforming in Avowed, and then also Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, it feels like they couldn't pay enough to rent his hands and arms as well as his face. So you have arms of like somebody 6 feet taller. You can grab shit super far in that game.
Yeah.
Avowed, very, very generous when you're doing platforming. I like that. Like, to me,
Yeah.
unless it's a platformer that they're like, this is going to be the, pixel perfect stuff. It's like, dude, just,
Yeah, I picture myself being the Mr. Fantastic guy,
yeah,
the stretchy guy.
yeah, yeah. So would you say then, like, graphically as good as, so obviously their first game was a little, well, was more realistic, but it was on older systems and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the second game I thought was fantastical, did the fantastic very well. Is this one, what I noticed in this one, what I thought I saw in the trailers was that there was so much going on that it might not be as like graphical fidelity. It might not be like that graphical fidelity level that I was expecting. But do you disagree? Is it actually like
I
Nick?
found it to be pretty high, and it has a lot of diversity too,
Okay.
because you go from cyberpunk
Right.
to, full on fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
and both are very colorful, but really also like high definition, well defined, not stylized, which
Not
I
stylized.
enjoyed. Not stylized.
Okay.
I would
Interesting.
um I would compare it to, maybe not quite at the level of, but similar to Ratchet and Clank, the PS5 one.
Mm-hmm. You
Yeah,
that's
that's reminded me almost of that level of quality. Maybe not as
that's a
like,
high bar.
super high polish,
Right.
but yeah, overall, I would say
Damn, that's a hell of a high
reminded me
bar.
of that. But
Okay.
not on the, sorry, just to
No, go for it.
give a caveat, not quite on the, let's say, reflections and things like that, because they did a lot of technical stuff there with reflections
Mm-hmm.
and RTX. So not on that side, but like environments, textures, colors, clarity, like,
Just the
sharpness of things,
feel and
the
sharpness of stuff.
ability to see stuff and identify stuff. Yeah, is up there.
That's very cool. Lucitan, what's up, buddy? Potato Salad says, hey, character, just wanted to say my girlfriend and I just binged all of Lost these last 2 months because of your recommendation. Really wish I could erase my mind and restart it. I
That's
didn't
good.
know if that was going to say, really wish I could erase my memory of it and never return. I would have been like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Beard the Red says, have you guys heard any word on Crimson Desert? I haven't. I've got some feelers out, actually, as of yesterday to talk about it and try to see exactly what's going on with that. Abbreviated review says, L3 and R3 should die. Make real
Thank
buttons,
you.
not something accident. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
just, or they could be maybe the menu buttons, but even then I'd be opening the
Something
menu. Like,
unusual
something
that you're not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or make the adjustment in the future, make them be more adjustable. So you could like make them really, really hard to press or really easy to press. There's all kinds of stuff that I think it just feels weird when you're trying to push forward and in at an angle sometimes to hit the button.
Yeah.
It's like, Zaxby says, do you guys think Space Aliens watch the Best Gaming Podcast? I think we are Space Aliens, so technically we're hosting it. Dengaz says, I keep crashing in Monster Hunter Wilds frequently. I'm on AMD. Remove the 4K texture pack if you do have it. It is, I think within this week now, we've had 16 people who
Wow.
are now playing fine after removing the texture pack. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
Worked fine for me. Just upgrade your PCs, guys.
Just get a
Worked
Magic
fine.
PC. Mine worked fine too. I had some, the FPS
Yeah.
issues and stuff like that, but I didn't have the crashes. Well, I did at first, but they patched it. They patched, while we were reviewing it. Overall, that wasn't really an issue for me with the crashes, but boy, is it a lot, dude. It's a lot of people. A lot of people. What's up, Butterball? Says hi. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope your hand is healing up. Rick says, gotta watch the live before I watch your Atomfall review. Yeah, we're gonna discuss Atomfall here in just a bit. Romulus says, hey, what's up, fellas? Hope everyone's having a good Friday.
I got another thing
Space
for you,
News Friday,
Carrick,
by
too,
the way.
about the game. They made the play style of the two characters very unique too. So absolutely everything that you're able to do ends up being pretty different. There are some sections where
Per
you have
character?
the
Sorry.
same.
Per character
Yeah,
is different.
so
Okay,
you have the
okay.
two girls, right?
Mhm.
And for, I would say, at least a lot of the game, what you can do with one is very different than what you can do with the other, and very not simply, you know, you, you have one thing and I have a similar counterpart to that. There are some parts where you do have a similar toolkit, both of you.
Mhm.
Like the faster ones, where,
Mhm.
like I was saying, you have to react and do stuff like real time. But then for a lot of the game, you have some really unique, uh,
So
yeah,
more unique,
toolkits
that would be
with
even
each
more
one.
unique than the other games, because the other games
For
were
me, yes,
generally the same, you know?
generally the same. Yeah,
Huh.
exactly. Yeah,
Did you guys notice that right away, or was that, and also, did you guys
right
start
away.
doing
Yeah.
stuff right away, or does it have a long startup? Not to ruin any,
No,
but
it
no, I don't
gets
wanna
going
ruin it.
very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it also has what they call side stories that you can choose to engage with or
We were
not.
right then. We talked about that at the we were worried what if one person went off on, like, or wanted to do the other stuff and the other
Yeah.
person didn't. So how are they
So
introduced?
you find a portal to these.
Okay.
So each level will have like one of these side story portals that you can
Mhm.
choose to go into or not
Mhm.
if you find it. And they're always like a standalone either tale or, short story or action thing, depending. The sci-fi girl is more action-packed stuff.
Right.
The other goes more fantasy. There was one where you were pigs, and like one's ability was to fart and like propel itself with the fart, and the other one was like a toy pig that would expand with like uh, a
Like a balloon?
coil, or
Oh, a
like,
coil.
no, like what do you call that? Sorry, I'm blanking on the word.
Like a
Like
spring?
almost like a toy pig. Yeah, a spring. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has like a spring, and you're able to jump to stuff. And then at some point, you become a sausage because you go through like
A
like
processor?
yeah,
Like a meat
yeah,
processor? Wow.
uh,
Don't say
yeah.
much more.
Anyway, some funny stuff like that where
That's
now
pretty
you're a
cool.
sausage and you have to like toast yourself and put yourself into a hot dog. Just like some little funny side stories
When
too.
you said one could fart and one blew up, I thought you were gonna say like a balloon and you fart to blow up the other pig, and I was
Oh,
like, wow,
yeah,
that's going out there. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what I'll do on that one. Maybe somebody will stream it and I'll just watch it in there. There's been so many people streaming different stuff. There's probably, well, that would require two. I guess two people could jump in, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, it looks like it's doing well. Good price, for what they're asking and what they're giving. Like altogether, seems like it's reviewing insanely well, which is always good. And he knows. I mean, he knows how to make games. Like he knows how to make a particular type of game. I should say. I don't know if he
Yeah.
knows how to make other kind of games. It doesn't really matter. It's like they just absolutely are nailing something that no one else is making. Right.
Yeah,
So when you
these
look
are
at
fun.
genres,
Yeah.
there. I mean, in all honesty, if you look at genres, this being a two-person requiring uh like eclectic game, split screen, there's zero other people making that, which is weird
Yeah.
when you think about it, that he's like the only one making these games. There's really
Yeah, and
nobody else making
there's something utterly intuitive about it too, where you just know what to do at all times, even if it's something different and new you haven't done yet. It's
Yeah, there's
just
some
it's
building
also,
up of like your knowledge, you mean, of what
yeah, so
yeah.
it's like also knowledge from other games, right?
Hmm.
Playing other stuff, like, yes, I know that if we see two terminals, we're gonna interact with those, like
Hmm.
that type of stuff. And I know that my character has a circle in her back, and when I see something with a circle symbol, I know
Hmm.
that I have to interact with it, right? That type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just so well done.
Yeah, they do such a good job
You
delivering
don't get
something. I
confused.
mean, it's
Yeah.
like, here's what we are, here's exactly what we're delivering. No one else is delivering it. So it's like they get to sort of require specific things from the players, which is like you have to do co-op, but it's like it nails it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
rarely do you see like a company out there that is able to just sort of say this is ours. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't even think of another company that is saying this is ours. Like this is our spot right now, you know. And I'm sure he wouldn't be unhappy with somebody else trying to come in, but it's not. I mean, at least from what I
Yeah.
can tell,
It's
it's not happening.
very unique.
Yeah.
Someone was saying the sausage part was traumatizing. It was,
Oh, was it?
but awesome.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Romulus says, after your help the other day, I removed the texture pack. It worked great that night. Next day, I played the game, did keep crashing. I forced to play on the lowest graphical setting for now. Damn.
Mm,
Well, we got you a day.
that sucks.
I guess that's yeah, it does. It does. Monster
Yeah,
Hunter
not too
is
happy with the performance overall. for
Yeah.
the game.
Danny Passion Official dropping some hearts or love. Um, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know. We talked about this. I don't
Yeah,
I don't know. Dragon's Dogma had some issues, but it only had it really in the city. This one has these crashing issues, all this stuff. Obviously 2 million people are not or are a tremendous number more than your QA, but I don't believe Monster Hunter Wilds beta had the crashes. So it's like, how do we go
yeah.
from the beta where you had people stress testing everything and definitely playing the game, the game proper? How do you have that and then suddenly turn around and now we're looking down the barrel of a game that like has way more issues? Reminds me of Spider-Man 2 or Elden Ring when they first released and they did that patch and you were like, "Oh, damn. Like these are not running well." So, and you guys are you guys are of course PC, right? Doing PC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know how I'm sure the console runs just fine, but if anybody's playing the console version, I'd like to know how the console version is working as well. It'd be interesting to know. Moving on from there, let's talk about Atomfall. So I got a chance to put I don't remember. It's 3 or 4 hours into Atomfall, I think, with a remote play test, which was really nice of them to give us a chance to go ahead and jump in, have a good time, sort of seeing what that game is, which is definitely not the game I thought it was, which I think is good. I do believe that when you look at that game, it's pretty easy to be confused on what they're delivering because they talk about the lead system, they talk about the way they're going to give out quests or not quests, in this case it is leads, the way they're going to do a lot of the stuff that they do, but you never quite know until you get your hands on it. And so what goes on in this game is it's a mix of multiple games, but what it feels like is Sniper Elite in its world-based style. So there's linear areas like a dungeon area or the basement of somebody's house or a fort. Those are set up a little bit like Sniper Elite. No or no ball shooting, no shooting Hitler, unfortunately, no X-ray stuff. And then the other is pseudo open hub worldish. So they're wider, they're bigger. There's people moving around, milling around. Tons of difficulty options. This is the second game I'm going to cover in the next couple months that has difficulty options that dramatically change the game. I'll talk about some other games in the next couple weeks where the difficulty options are the first fucking place you should go. Maybe even before the resolution and your fucking FPS, because there's a couple games coming out where the developers have stated, you know what, we're going to throw a ton of options into the difficulty. That game has so many difficulty options. It's really nice. I was playing on challenging, didn't find it super hard, but we were a couple hours in. You basically move around a location and you have amnesia. And you're trying to figure out what's happened after this atomic, accident that happened in like 63, 67. And it plays like any first person shooter you would expect that is a stealth survival, like up close brawler. So think of Dying Light, but a little bit more cumbersome because it is still built on Elite or Sniper Elite's core base feel. It doesn't feel. Somebody said Atomic Heart. It's not as slick as Atomic Heart. Just being honest, I think Atomic Heart's control was better. This one is still a little bit stodgy because it does feel like they're using some underlying Sniper Elite stuff, which is more about your ranged. Not bad, just a little bit more basic. Your stealth is one button. You can't crawl, from what I could see. Crawling was contextual. If there was a gap, you'd crawl under it. There's a hole in a wall, you'd crawl under it. You could squeeze through, rocky crevice, vagina, orifice openings, that kind of stuff. The rest of it was basically kneeling down in grass. It'd say you're hid or running around. And what's cool about this game, other than the fact that no enemy can read English at all, because people just leave the quest or the leads markers everywhere. They're like on a piece of paper right on the table, they'll on a wall. You read these leads, and some are more directed than others. Some might say there's a person in the nearby village. The other might just hint at some stuff. And as you get them, they pop up on we'll call it a quest journal. And then instead of saying it's right here, they just sort of give you hints like there's something going on over here, or we heard some sounds over here. So it takes a little while to understand what they're trying to tell you in some of them. And I definitely feel like I missed a couple because we're so accustomed to reading journals and have them not matter that when you're reading one now and you're like, okay, does the sound matter? Does the direction is the direction from where I picked up the piece of paper or my compass direction? Because if I picked up the paper headed this way and they say right ahead is a bad guy, and I'm like, well, ahead, or ahead to the north ahead. Like there's little idiosyncrasies there that I liked. I did like that. They did warn us that there's dead ends. Because they said that the mystery should be, they wanted to leave mystery. So some of the leads may not go anywhere. And I'm all, okay, I love the idea.
Ooh,
But if that idea, whatever your lead that goes nowhere happens to be something somebody likes, you could have a rough return on your hands where somebody's like, dude, I spent an hour and a half,
yeah.
on
Could
these
be
leads.
frustrating too.
It could
If
be
you're wondering, did I have a bug or did I miss
right.
something?
There were 2 times where I was like, can't quite tell, but I bid off on it. I was like, whatever, that's the way they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Combat's pretty cool in a generic way. You just come up, you beat on them, they beat on you. They did, a couple of them ran, a couple of them went for cover. The weapons are all iron sights from what I could tell. There might be scopes later, but it's a lot of it is like pretty close engagements, even with the guns, because if they're too far away, you're probably not hitting the guy. Like it's that far, it's these guns are like 22 long rifles, so you got to be up close. Revolvers. What I did like was you can fool people. No one can tell if you have bullets in your gun. So if you go up to an enemy, this is much like Tarkov trying to being simulated, I guess, in this game in these kind of ways, where you'll go up to somebody and they'll be like, hey, I don't know, I don't trust you, whatever. And if you pull your gun, there's a chance they'll back off because they think you have bullets and you may not have any bullets. So you can get through some areas by bluffing, basically. There's no theft system in the game that I could tell, meaning a lot like some other games. I don't know why people are suddenly magically care about this, because so many games don't have this, but I figured I'd point it out. It seems like it was arbitrarily used as a ding on some games and not others. This game is not trying to have a full theft crime system. So if you find a tomato, pick up the fucking tomato. Like, it's that kind of game. You just grab a fucking tomato. Who gives a shit? I mean, the tomato doesn't have a goddamn Sears store tag on it to say who owns it. It's a tomato. So you can do that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. They have a trespassing system where, if you trespass, you're probably pretty much in trouble unless you're stealthing. Some cool voices. Actually, I would say the voices might be the best part. They were all voiced really well. That was awesome because there's some creepy ass characters, and the dialogue system is awesome. So the dialogue system has no skill checks I could find, but emotions you wanted to convey. And since you're an amnesiac and you're talking to somebody, you can be like cynical, questioning, puzzled, angry, whatever. And I feel like those sometimes changed. I can't remember that part because I was streaming. We weren't able to, it's not like a review where you can pause it and go up and down. We had a time limit. But it was pretty cool because when I was talking to somebody, you'd be blunt. They'd respond a different way than if they responded another way. They did let us save and reload, which was pretty cool. Like, they didn't have any restrictions on that. It's just I wanted to see as much as I could see. But, now that I get an idea of it, it is more like some of the more cut down style of games that we've seen, like a Dying Light, right? Lite.
Oh, something like Outer Worlds in terms of the
That's
story, maybe?
that Outer Worlds and some of what Avowed was doing, where it was like, here's the gameplay, and we want you to. There's like, here's the gameplay, and then here's the one thing we're offering, right? And this game is offering the lead system. So if you're not into that, it may not be for you. But if you are into that, it could definitely be for you. Like, that's the thing, is the mystery is sort of cool. It's like it takes two or split fiction, where if you have to know what you're getting into, and if you bite off on it, you're probably going to be pretty good shape. I think. Graphically, people were asking if it's like BioShock. Listen, it's hard to know because I only played 3.5 or some hours. There were parts of it that were BioShock light, but I would say it was more like Fallout light, more than anything. Because there's a lot of survival. There's a lot of items you pick up that matter. Almost everything that you can pick up, you probably should, because you can craft things. And it's tight. Like, there's not a lot of stuff. it almost looks like somebody went through here a couple dozen times before you, which I sort of liked the idea that like maybe some people stole some shit before you did. So instead of when you go in, I went into a planter area. This is actually what I liked. I went into a greenhouse and I'm like, oh, a greenhouse. I'm going to grab everything because I'm accustomed to going into a greenhouse and there's 8,000 perfectly aligned fruit. Like that's Kingdom Come. Any of these games do that. Not this game. This game's like there's 2 pretty shitty tomatoes in like on a crappy skinny plant and you're like, oh shit, I need to grab those because those those will be useful. Couple bullets, like I felt pretty good grabbing like 2 shotgun shells. It was like, oh, there's 2 shotgun shells, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would just have to see if the difficulty pans out over time. Story seemed pretty interesting, but it's one of those ones where you're amnesiac, dude. Amnesia's getting a little, it's
Yeah.
like the thing that you can't remember is being repeated now so many times that it's like that's all I can remember in games is amnesiac. I know that it helps the story makers, but I don't know. Do you feel that way? Like, do you ever get like when you hear that a game has an amnesiac, do you immediately go, or do you care at all yet?
Yeah. No, I do care. I think it is overused. It's maybe a crutch, right? It's a way for you to get exposition that otherwise would make no sense
Mm-hmm.
because people wouldn't explain stuff about the
The
world,
basic stuff to you, yeah,
the basic
absolutely.
stuff about the world, if you were a normal inhabitant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to explain to you how to read a clock or like how to, because we know these things. But if you're an amnesiac, all of a sudden now I can use that as a vehicle to give to you a lot of basic exposition
Yeah.
about the world and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel, other than when I read it.
Yeah.
When I see a game and it
You know,
says it's going to be
the way that I prefer when they do it is if you have a companion that is either someone younger or someone who maybe was raised under different situations and they didn't get to learn these things, and they use that other character where maybe you explain something to them or other people explain stuff to them, and they are sort of the way to
Mhm.
get some of the basics.
I was asked what engine it runs on. Same exact one as Sniper Elite, which I believe, I believe Sniper Elite runs on their own. I could be wrong
Hmm.
on that. Resistance had some issues. The last Sniper Elite. This one didn't seem to have any tech issues. We had some tech issues with the connection, but that's pretty normal. You've got people
Yeah.
like in New Mexico trying to play a game that's on a server somewhere else. I had a couple issues, but once it got sort of sorted, I was like, good to go. There was no real issues.
Did you have
with that.
any companions or any like? I don't know.
At the time I was playing, no. No,
Okay.
I definitely talked to people. I mean, there were people in the game world, but most of
Sure.
them were like, "Hey, what do watch
But
yourself
more of
in
a
town."
lone wolf
Mm-hmm. Yep.
type
Yep.
thing.
And that was the thing, is you started a little bit in the game, right? So whenever you start in the game, you have no clue, like, did I have a companion at the first part and they've gone on to the city and we're going to meet them in a bit, but I didn't see that. They also had, from what I could tell, the lead system was empty when I started, and I believe there was supposed to be stuff there if you were playing it normal, meaning I jumped in and they had obviously deleted it. Like, they didn't allow you to see it, which is fine. But the reason why I found out is they didn't say much about skills. I jumped in the skills section and there were skills to buy. So I was like, oh, shoot, I'm glad I looked. The skills are pretty generic. One of the skills I did like, though, is so when you crack somebody's neck, weirdly enough, after you crack their neck to kill them, they scream. So you'd be like, and as they're dropping, they'll be like, ah! And I'm all, oh, shit, because I thought I did a silent. And then I went and looked at the skill, and it's like you can kill people quieter. So then I bought that skill, and they just make a muffled sound. It does seem to be using sound a lot, because in one area, when I killed somebody, there was a waterfall nearby, and he didn't hear me, and I didn't have that skill, and I'm almost 100% sure that's using something like Sniper. You know how Sniper has the speaker come up to say you can fire?
Yeah, the baseline.
Yeah, but here I think it's doing the thing where it's a survival game. You have to sort of guess and hope. Not everything has to be gamified, which is why I'm sort of happy. That I was like, at first I was all, oh, I don't know what's happening or this against that. And I actually later was like, oh, you know what? This is fine. Eternal says, can you pit NPCs? Here's what's weird. I believe I did see, I for sure did see 2. I don't know if it has any kind of faction system. I don't want to say that, but I did see what looked like a fight going on that was where I had run from. And I was running away from somebody, so I didn't get to turn around. But I do believe that probably the city goers and any wandering bandits, especially the ones that have trespass signs and shit, may end up being able to fight each other, because I saw patrols and there were a lot of patrols. So when you turn up the difficulty, the game is like, okay, you want the difficulty higher, there'll be more patrols and they'll be doing more stuff. And there was a little bit of jank there, but I definitely saw there's some kind of like patrol system that was going on. And it did seem like there would be some overlap, because one place I went was like really close. You know, we see that with Kingdom Come, we see it with Avowed, we've seen it with a lot of games where there'll be bad guys somewhat close to the good guys section. And if they explain it in the fiction, I'm fine. Like Avowed was like, these are the wild lands. You know, they're called the living lands, but it's so dangerous. Our own leaders walked outside and disappeared. So I heard people saying, oh, I can't believe that there were bad guys right outside. I'm like, dude, they tell you when you get off the docks. They're like this is the,
Yep.
you know, this is an outpost city, and then the next outpost. So to me, I was cool with that. This one is dangerous enough that, you know, maybe there'll be some battles between them. I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you. There were some cool enemies, not a lot, mostly humans. Some things called where they were like radiation zombies, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it. Who, by the way, can hear really fucking well. Because I was sneaking like a quarter of a millimeter a second, because they creep me out. They sleep. There's these like blue husks, and they're giving off this slow vibe, and it's like wet and misty, and I'm like, dude, that's just nasty. And so I was all, okay, I'm just gonna sneak by this guy. And it was like inker, 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 and it woke up anyway, which by the way, I'm fine with. Like, I just don't know if I can get a skill for that. But fighting those guys was a little tougher, and they poisoned me, which sucked. But I lived. What else was on there? Pretty good audio, about bog standard. Music. So I didn't get a chance to mention this in the preview. And by the way, if you guys get a chance, please still watch the preview. This did bother me a little bit. It does that shit, dude. Okay, so this is a game with no mini map. You have a main map, but you have no map markers for enemies. You have icons around your HUD, and you can turn that off. What did happen twice is in the middle of a battle, the battle music stopped, and I realized that's because I killed the last guy. So instead of having to search the area, which is what I like the mystery of going, is that the last guy? Well, this was like doom, 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 doom. And I was all, oh,
we're done.
Shit, we're done. Yeah, so that reminds me, I got to DM them that and say, I'd like that not the stinger, but that tail off of the battle music to last longer, because
lasts longer.
Yeah, if you know, I mean, and that's the mystery of not knowing. So I would love for it to ebb, even if it slows down in tempo, just indicating you're not in current battle, but you could possibly be in danger. So
yeah, it's also too abrupt, right? If it just ends.
Especially in a game with no enemy markers, if you can use your battle music, which isn't real anyway. I mean, I don't know about anybody else. Been in a lot of fights, never heard battle music start. If it did, that would be amazing.
You don't get your OST.
Yeah, I didn't get a walkout theme, man. So, you know, in that game, that was the one thing. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it. It was really nice to be able to play one of their games early and sort of see what they were doing. I think those guys overall
it's
nailed
probably it. Not it's probably solidly at the like AA level, so not like a.
Yeah, I think that one, and it's Game Pass, which is awesome. I think that one is right where Sniper Elite Resistance is, where it's doing something that's caged down a little bit from what they normally offer, and it's a very particular thing. It's like, we're delivering this. It's just like Split Fiction. It's like, we're delivering this, and it's priced accordingly for some people. And I'm actually sort of 100% behind that. As I like the idea of developers aiming for odd things, but not expecting everybody to want it, which is the way this feels. Feels like they're like, hey, you know what? This is doing this one particular thing. We hope you like it. And but if you're not into that particular thing, you may not like it. I'm glad games are starting to go away from overly relying on the HUD, says Eternal. Absolutely, man. Yeah. The ability to turn off HUDs or minimize HUDs or not have as much of a HUD in some of these games is that kind of stuff is awesome. I love that. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any questions on Atomfall that anybody can think of? I think that's, you have 4 hotspots for weapons, and I tested switching between them. It's actually pretty speedy for a survival game. I noticed when I switched between weapons, I was like, oh, all right. I guess I
Mm,
assumed it was going to be,
yeah.
and pull out this, and instead it was pretty speedy. And I don't know if that's an indicator of battle later on, because usually your animation speed switching is directly connected in some way to the engagement. Like the developers will look at the curve of engagement and go, we got to make sure these, either there's a skill to switch weapons quicker, or they switch weapons to the point to where they don't feel completely stymied. And
Yeah.
I felt like overall it was actually faster than I expected. Shooting the bow sucked, man. Not because it's the game. It's just like trying to shoot somebody with a bow when they're running around
Yeah.
and there's all this kind of cover. It's not like Kingdom
It's not
Come where
good.
maybe guys are just in a prairie somewhere. There was all kinds of debris everywhere, or old cars, and you're bouncing your arrows off cars and stuff. That sucked. But yeah. So that's that for the Atomfall preview. If you guys get a chance, I would love for you to check it out. Before we jump into more gaming news, I saw this. I thought it was pretty cool, dude. Games Workshop and Warhammer making huge money. There were some reports that and it makes sense, right? Because you have Space Marine 2,
Yep.
you have Rogue Trader, both Space Marine or both Warhammer like IPs. There's 2 or 3 Warhammer RPGs coming out that are in some layering of the Warhammer worlds because they have so many different fictions. But I was actually pretty stoked because I know this is before your time, but I mean, Games Workshop has had a lot of bad times. Like they've
Oh
had
yeah, man.
a lot of bad
Hmm.
times. So it was actually cool
Yeah.
to see that. I like that.
Yeah, especially because we like the recent stuff, right? So we want to see more. It's good to see it succeed.
Yeah.
Makes us think that there will be a next Space Marine or something alike.
Yeah, did you hear that Space Marine devs are in some way working on another IP? I believe it's Hasbro. So that would be,
Really?
yeah, I believe it was classic Hasbro IP. So that would be like Transformers, GI Joe. I don't know who owns these IPs anymore because some of those IPs are
Dude.
old, but it could be like classic Transformers or GI Joe. Dude, that would be amazing if they did a GI Joe.
Oh,
There was a GI Joe game. I should be totally open or totally like transparent about that. I think it was last year. There was a GI Joe game that didn't review terribly, but the idea that
really?
those
Last
guys are
year?
doing it, yeah, I believe it was last year.
That
You can
recent?
look it up, but yeah, it was last year, I
Yeah.
believe, because I think one of the PR companies for the smaller devs had DM'd me about it. I just didn't have the chance to cover it, but yeah, I don't remember what it reviewed, but it definitely came out. I think it was last year. So let's see. Alp says any somewhat current sci-fi CRPGs out there that are real time with pause. Yeah, there's the okay, real time with pause. No, I don't know. I don't know if that exactly, but I do know I saw a game where you're all on a colony ship, like a generation ship, and I think the entire game is based just in the first part because they just announced they didn't make enough money on the game to do a sequel. They're doing another title. But I know that
Damn.
I saw it on Steam. It was getting rave reviews from people. And I believe that developer also made a game based in Rome where you are a Roman warrior, and it was super super RPG-ish, and it got a ton of good reviews. Man, I know this is generic because I can't remember the name of either title. I don't own them, but I know I just saw the news pop up for their third title being something different, and I believe they did a game based in Rome. Then they did a game on a generation ship, which was sci-fi, and then they're doing a different one. Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't remember what they're called. It wouldn't be too hard if you, like, even just using ChatGPT maybe to try to put all that together. But damn, I can't remember. I'm sorry. It might pop into my head. Let's see. Robert says any potential in-game to it. If you're talking about Atomfall, yes, for sure. Colony ship. Is that really what it's called? Okay, well there you go. There you go. Colony ship. Yeah, so go check it out. Colony Ship got insanely good reviews, and the devs have stated that unfortunately didn't sell well enough. But if you guys get a chance, Colony Ship looked pretty fucking sweet. I think I did buy it, but I haven't got a chance to check it out. Wizard says Colony Ship is great. Sad no sequel. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Shit. I was right on that one. Can't get a way out. named right, but I can guess that a damn game's called Colony Ship. What's the can somebody is in chat? If you guys get a chance, I'm too worried that if I switch away from this, my entire PC will light on fire and run out the window. But if you guys get a chance, can you check what that Rome game is? Century? Did it have the name Century in it? But the game, I believe they made the game prior, and I'd love to know the title. Dude, we were looking at simulator games yesterday, Johnny. Dude, there is a recycling. It's called I think it's called Recycling Center Simulator. Insanely good reviews. Just looks awesome. There's so many simulator games, man.
Yeah,
and it's Playway again. Like probably the most like what do
yeah.
you call
I
it?
saw like a fast food simulator.
Yes, fast food simulator.
You covered one recently, right? The ambulance one.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. The ambulance one was actually way more enjoyable than I thought. Though I think it will trigger people when they're giving people shots or taking blood because they show the needle and everything. Age of Decadence. There you go. Excellent. All right. But
yeah, I mean, mall manager simulator, storage hunter simulator.
Storage hunter simulator sort of interested me, dude, because I used to like to watch the Storage Wars shows where they have the guys go and bid on the storages, and somebody get like some socks, and then the other guy, it's like a brand new,
exactly,
or not and a brand new car, but a classic car. That was last year.
It's sitting at very positive. It's still early access, by the way. So it did launch last year, but it's still
early
being worked on.
Yeah, man. It's I'm really excited to see how popular that entire genre is.
It's awesome to see just how many are coming out because they were always popular, but you used to have, one big one and then sometime and then another one. But now you have all of these kind of smaller ones too. Like the TCG card.
Yeah.
Just blew up, man.
Blew up. I think also there's a high chance that what's happening, especially when you look at it, is that there's that one game that just nails it. And I think probably Pressure Washer Simulator or whatever probably was the Power Washer.
Amazing.
Was the one that like everybody had played them prior, but I think there were so many of them that there wasn't a way for everybody to focus on one title. That title came and it was like, okay. T-Monk says,
that one made everybody aware.
Did you get a chance
that
to play
one made... I did. Yeah, I played quite a bit of it. I think it was fantastic. Yeah, it has the the zen, but also the almost obsessive compulsive thing where it's not done yet. You need to get that stain, need to get that. I don't know. They really... I have a little bit of a obsessive compulsive disorder thing sometimes where I need it to be clean and tidy, has to be symmetrical. So it appeals a little bit to that.
I think it fits into our conversation of why anybody become a proctologist. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, yesterday? That was an odd conversation. I think I just brought it up out of nowhere, but
But I mean, the idea of building or fixing something that's broken or removing something from something else is like, it's a bigger driver than anybody understands. Like, I mean, you'll have people who aren't obsessive compulsive at all, don't have any of those, but they get like Power Washer or they have their own car. I have a friend who, house isn't very clean ever, pretty messy person, but that car is, it's spotless, waxed once a week, always out there, every little grain of dirt's removed from it. And it's like, oh, interesting. Okay. So it's like that focus they find. What do you guys think of Battlefield Labs? Dude, I'm actually excited for this. I didn't know really much about Battlefield Labs until we were in chat day before yesterday, and somebody, I think I saw the trailer or maybe the beta invite. And
is that a new Battlefield game?
Yeah, it's like, it's in the new Battlefield game, but they're testing out they're trying to break the servers. They're basically inviting everybody to come in. And I looked at
a new mode or something like that,
or a continuation of a prior mode, because I don't think that's new. I think Labs was like last game. Somebody told me it had been done before. This last Battlefield I didn't check out though. It was one of those titles where I looked at it and I was like, that one's not for me. I think I'll just pass that one out. Let's see. Wizard of Smoke, is that the one that always had glasses on and looked like Bono? Oh, Barry from Storage Wars, I believe that wasn't Barry. I thought that was another guy who was in Storage Wars.
Is Bono still around? I haven't seen him in
a decade. Is YouTube still around? Yes, they are, man. Yeah, U2
They are.
is oh yeah. Yeah. U2 is pretty eclectic and they're going to have that diehard fandom forever.
Yeah,
They're just sort of there.
because they were everywhere,
Yeah.
and then suddenly I feel like I haven't seen them.
So I saw something yesterday that explains this pretty well. Bill Burr did a little thing where he was sitting down with somebody and he said that he was talking to his dad. His dad called him. And his dad said, "Hey man, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping on the couch. I woke up and I saw a movie with Al Pacino and I was watching it. And then I saw Bill, his son. He's like, I saw you on the show. When did you do this?" And Bill Burr goes, 8 years ago.
Whoa.
And he said that's the indication that there's so much stuff that your son is in a movie with Al Pacino and you don't find out about it for 8 years. That is crazy.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
crazy.
insane.
There's just so much stuff, man. There's just so much stuff. It's ridiculous. It's like, we'll have that sometimes in Discord. I'll have somebody come in and be like, "Yeah, hey, so Carrick, I talked to you about 2 years ago about blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Okay, try not to." It's like, I just want you to understand, like, there's so many people doing so many things. Or hey, I know
Yes,
you
that's
watch
true.
everybody. Did you see that video on specific swords in this one game? And I'm like, no. How the
Yeah.
hell? Like, there's so much stuff. Love you guys. Once a week, I have to
Yeah.
drive a few hours, and I always listen to your podcast. Appreciate what you do. Penguin Juice. Penguin Juice.
Damn.
Penguin Juice. That is
Yeah.
a thing.
That's an odd one. You're sitting down thinking about a username.
Sometimes I just
You're
wake
like,
up and I'm like, man, I think I'm going to
yeah.
start out the day with a full 12 ounces of penguin juice.
Oh, it would be so greasy and nasty.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, they are nasty too. There's been people who are stuck, like out in the wilderness, and they've tried to eat them, and they're like, they're terrible. They're like seagull. Danny Passion, $2 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Peter says, squeeze them. I don't. No, that's all right. Yeah, just.
Oh, the image, just horrible.
Some seagull and penguin. Here's the thing. Would you, if you were stuck in the woods, how long do you think? Okay, let's say you and I would
die immediately.
No. Let's say no. Let's skip that part. Okay? We'll do it this way. You and I are out and about. I come up. We do a ACG camping trip somewhere outside of where you live, or we decide to take a trip. I die fighting off a bear. It eats half of my body. How long until you start to eat me?
Okay, hear me out. Which half?
Whatever half is more palatable.
Ooh. Okay.
How long until you eat someone? Like, how long do you think you could go before somebody's buttocks looks juicy and you're like,
real
right.
talk?
Yeah, real talk.
Like
real
a solid. Yeah, I think like a solid 5 hours.
Dude, you're not even hungry in 5 hours. What are you talking about? I'm not even. What are you talking about? That's not 5 hours. What?
Dude, I'm starting to get hungry. It's nighttime. I don't have a consistent way to get access to food. I don't know if you're gonna go bad.
So you're thinking,
you know what
it's
I mean?
time to plump up.
I'm thinking, listen, this meat is good right now.
That's true. That's true. Should I dive in now and just plump up in one delicatessen of Carrickness, just biting in, just like it's time to eat some ass?
That was funny though. It's like a survival game. You're immediately hungry. You just ate a fish. You're immediately hungry.
Happens all the time, man. I don't know if I don't know if 30 minutes or 5 hours is mine, but I definitely know that if it came down, I've heard that people who've got stuck in that, they've had like guilt about it, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I would. I mean, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and somebody dies, and people, oh, I don't know if I could eat him.
It's at the level of a zombie apocalypse, practically speaking.
Practically,
it's survival.
That's the thing. I was talking to a friend about this in another game, and I was like, listen, man, you don't like celebrate or you don't really understand that if somebody else's house is burnt down and yours isn't, what they're dealing with. It's a different situation, right?
Yeah.
But their hell is a real hell. So if you're in the middle of Antarctica, to you that's a zombie apocalypse, except bears, well, not Antarctica,
exactly.
But if you're at one of the poles where there's fucking actually life and there's polar bears, you got to watch out for them. You don't have to watch out for zombies, but you have to watch out for like getting eaten or frozen. That's a zombie apocalypse in all, you know,
Yeah.
in all likelihood. It's pretty much the same thing. So I get it. Rogerio says, just like the forest, I shouldn't be that hungry after eating a whole cannibal. That's a good point.
True.
You will get scrapey or mad person disease. Like that's the one thing you have to worry about being like, eating somebody else. So gross. I would probably wait I would probably get a month because I got some stores.
Damn.
But I would, like you said, you got to look at the meat and go,
Yeah.
should I fatten myself
We got a
up?
timer on this one.
We got a
Yeah.
timer on this one. Yeah. And sometimes you just got to go for it, right?
Gotta
Sometimes
go.
you just got to eat some ass.
Seize
Anyway,
the opportunity.
seize the buttocks.
Seize the day.
Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes you got to do it.
Right.
Moving on from there, a little bit of more about Monster Hunter Wilds. I saw a bunch of people playing it yesterday. Absy jumped in. Some people have skipped it and they're doing Worlds first because they're waiting for this to be patched up. But they seem to be enjoying the end game without spoiling anything. Like,
Yeah.
what are your general thoughts?
I think there's quite a lot in the end game. You still have plenty of quests that pop up. Some like voice acted stuff that continues a little bit. Nothing that will fix the story and make it interesting, but enough to kind of give you a little bit of a, hey, try this, hey, do this, and explain to you what it's going to look like for you to get better gear and start fighting stronger monsters and stuff like that. So I think it does a good job of giving some guidance. So it's not fully like, hey, you finished the game, go do whatever you want. It's a little bit, there is a bit of guidance there.
Do you feel that the difficulty bump is enough to replace the lack of difficulty in the single player?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's pretty much well balanced. The way that I look at it, right? If I went back to Monster Hunter World, yes, it would be very easy. But a big part of that too is that if you imagine yourself having all the tools that they released later in Iceborne, in the initial playthrough of World, it would also be a lot easier. And in this game, effectively, that's what you have, because you have the focus aim you can do. You have a lot of these quality of life things that are effectively kind of like things that in the past we only got access to later on. So in a weird way, we have all the good shit already to begin with. So it makes the game a lot easier. And I think that exacerbated the difficulty contrast.
Yeah.
And then when you go into the stronger monsters, they move a lot more. So it's not only that they're tankier. I have found that they're, much more mobile, proactive, hard to get to. And it definitely reminded a lot more of what it was like, say,
in Worlds,
like end game of World and stuff like that.
What do you think about, without again spoiling anything, what do you think about the gear and some adjustments, new types, without saying what new types or anything? Have you felt rewarded, or did you like the early stuff, or are you not like especially design?
Design for aesthetically?
Armors, aesthetically, yeah.
I liked it a lot. I think it's a bit hit or miss. And this is always the case. Like some armor sets look ridiculous, but that's also part of the fun of it. I think they look pretty good. And you do feel that as you go up in rarity, they look more imposing and stronger and stuff. So I like that. I like that every monster does have quite a bit of personality, both when you fight them and you see the design and stuff, but the armor that comes from them sort of makes sense, right? Like there are parts of it that remind you of the monster. And I think that's important to me. Like feeling like I'm
looks
wearing
like a part of
what I earned.
Whatever. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I like that. The skills are pretty similar. I don't know if there are any new skills.
Okay.
Personally, I haven't found any new ones. I think they're pretty much the ones you know and love from, prior games.
Right.
But it is quite a bit easier to farm stuff, like different skills that you might need, and also different parts. Because what will happen is that monsters will be popping up randomly in the different areas. And if you choose to hunt one of those that pop up randomly, some of them will have bonus rewards.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you can see they will give you certain types of, rewards. And you will see, for example, hey, this one has this really rare thing that I either need now or might need later. I'm going to go for that. So they encourage you to take on these, they're called investigations, but it's simply when a monster pops up in an area. And people who are in the same instance will be able to see that. Anyone in your link party can join you too and stuff. So it's pretty good.
Can people in your friends list or your environment link party join? I'm sorry. I just hate the multiplayer in that
Yeah,
game.
the terminology is
Jesus.
really odd to figure out how everything works because you have levels. You have squad, you have link party, environment, just friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah, it's pretty messy. It's pretty messy. It is funny that they also, I mean, I don't know, sort of bothers me a little bit that there isn't monster hunting in the monster hunting game per se, but overall still enjoyable. Like I definitely had a good time with it. I'll definitely come back to it. Penguin Juice says huge Monster Hunter fan, so I'm biased. I think I'm just about through the story, getting excited for the end game. Absolutely painful they changed the music to the cooking mini game. Absolutely painful that they changed the music to the mini. I don't remember what it was, but damn, that sounds rough. Painful that they changed it. Now I want to go
The
back and
cooking mini game. So I'm trying to think. So this is when
because
you
Cat's
cook
cooked
something
for
in
you
your
before,
tent.
right?
Yeah, it was a whole thing.
I think he
I
means
think
the
one
whole
big
thing.
thing that's missing
Mhm.
is actually the canteen. Is canteen? Cantina? Canteen? Like
Cantina, if you're talking about the place, canteen is
the place.
the thing to drink from. Okay, gotcha.
Cantina.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Is that like a Spanish word stolen from Spanish?
Oh, I'm sure
Anyway,
it is.
sorry.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, a tangent here. But the point is that's kind of missing. In World, you had this common area where everybody was sitting there. You would see everybody. Some people were drinking.
Continue.
Some
I'm gonna put these
people
guys out.
were
I'm listening.
arm wrestling.
Uh-huh.
You could get food with the ticket, and then it would actually like give food to other people too, or like give the free food for people. And that like place where people are coming to hang out before a hunt, I think is missing. I'm pretty sure they're gonna add something like this in the upcoming content patches because it's definitely missed. And what you have in the tent where you go in, you cook something is cool. I like that you can see the different ingredients, but I don't think it's at the level of that where the cats are cooking you something fancy. And I think that's still needed.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's like the pomp and circumstance has gone a bit.
Yes.
You know, like the celebration of some of the stuff, and they wanted to get you into the game so bad that some of the game feels missing, even though it really wasn't game. Originally.
Someone is saying they plan on adding the gathering hub later in a later update. Yeah, that makes sense to me because there was a big community thing, like you're hanging out with your friends at the gathering hub before a hunt. That I don't feel right now.
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel that as well. There was you can definitely tell that they've streamlined a lot, except for their HUD, which is
because it's different. Like in the town, sure, you're running past other people, but people are just standing around. It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not the
it's not the
feeling
same
that like people are hanging out.
No. I mean, and the HUD is its own mini game, and it's not a fun mini game.
No,
their HUD sucks. Dick, just terrible HUD, terrible in all ways, man. Like, I don't know how they would fix it. I don't know, how difficult it would be to fix it, but it's definitely optimizable from what we get right now. It's just like, damn, it's
yeah,
rough.
I would like to see some evolution, and I know they can't fully change it because people would be angry, but some tweaks, like
if I look
changing
like I'm
small
drinking
things.
radioactive juice, it is not.
That's the penguin juice right there.
Yeah, I got a little seagull, a little penguin. Put them in there. Little scorpion venom. Keep me running. Next thing I want to talk about is PlayStation 5. PlayStation as a whole did a rental service. That was not expected. But basically, you can rent all kinds of stuff. You can rent the Portal.
Why would you? Okay. We don't need to shit on the Portal.
Anyway, you can no, it shits on itself. You can rent the base PS5. You can rent the PS5 Pro, the PSVR, and more. So we're going to go through some prices real quick. These are in the pound, I believe. Base PS5 23, base monthly. We're just going to go monthly.
Okay.
PS5 Pro 35 a month. PS Portal anyway. PSVR 2 51 a month. PS5 DualSense Edge 20. Their prices are their prices are good in some places and then really weird in the other ones. But overall, long story short, and I think it's rent to own. I didn't look into it that much. But here's the thing. It might behoove somebody to rent a PS5 Pro and then get a Plus subscription for a month and play some games versus, buying a PS5 at all. Like if they're let's say they're a PC owner and there's a new game that comes out. I've never been against rental services. That's why I don't say it as much, but GameFly, I mean, that's sort of how I started the channel was, buy, wait for sale, rent. Now I just usually say deep sale because that's sort of identical with rent. But I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. I know that usually you come out on the wrong side if you keep them for a long period of time, but that's not really what I think most people hopefully are smart enough to not do that. I didn't even know what I was reading in the last one. I don't even think I realized that was the controller. That's
almost the price of the console itself, man, for the rental.
That is expensive. And PSVR 2, I feel like you could get. I think they dropped the price on PSVR 2, in fact, or that somebody had said that they had dropped the price, put it on a sale. But again, like you'll hear somebody say, why don't you just buy it? Well, there's a reason why they don't just buy it. Duh. So it's like if you just go for a month, you want to play, like let's say you rent a PS5 base for $23 a month or whatever. And I think in America it's 20, but whatever, you rent it. You get yourself 5-6 games, you get your time out of it, you return it. No harm, no foul.
That's solid, man.
I mean, it's like, dude, it's one more way for you to jump into a game, and I'm not going to sit here and bitch about it. Like, I don't.
Well, it's just like services.
It is just
if you don't want to buy a game at full price, and maybe you pay a month of Ubisoft, get in there, play what you want to play of the game, get out.
I mean, dude, this is the reason why I'm probably not so bothered, and I saw some people were just outraged by this, and I'm like, you're outraged by somebody getting an offer of getting something? Like, seriously? But the Dreamcast had a payment plan. So, like, games, consoles, there's always been somebody offering something. Even, I believe, Comcast for a while, if you got their, or maybe it was one of the satellite dish companies, gave you an Xbox original if you did a 12-month contract. If you were getting like the TV channels, you got a system. Hey, whatever, maybe you're getting it for TV shows and your kid likes video games, or maybe you like both. It's like, whatever. Does anybody have any idea which mods I can add to my first playthrough of what, William? I didn't see
Baldur's Gate 3.
About. Did he say Baldur's Gate 3? Did I miss that?
Yeah.
Oh, he said. Now he
said it after. Yeah. I haven't tried any mods on it. Have you? I pretty much wanted the vanilla experience.
Yeah, I wanted the vanilla too, Johnny, and I was pretty happy with the vanilla. Like, there wasn't, there were a couple things that popped up, but nothing that I'm like, oh man, once a mod. I saw somebody modded in unlimited saves in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I'm like, hey, all the power to you, but you could already unlimited save by just fucking quitting the game. It saved pretty much anywhere in the game, so I didn't really have that issue either.
That's a funny workaround to have to quit the game.
It's a weird one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it is there. It is there. So, controller rental is a mistake, Bit says. That's probably true, right? That's probably true, because controllers are probably going to go bad. Well, hygiene, you could douse that shit in some. You could make your own at-home chlorine gas and spray it down or something. On the topic of hunting, are your dogs hunting dogs? They hunt biscuits. That's about it. I think they have some hunting dog in them, but we don't use them for that. I don't believe in using hunting dogs. I believe you should go out there in nothing but a loincloth and a fucking stick, and you have to find the deer and beat it to death.
Can you like sick them on the postman or something?
They don't like people coming to the door, man. It Takes Two
Right.
sold 23 million units. I just saw this. A Way Out has sold 11. Ooh, A
Wow.
Way Out sold way less. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Now that I think about it. Way Out shooter versus,
Yeah.
something a little bit less
And it was game of the year. I mean, it hit really big that year.
was it game of the year?
I believe so.
No shit. Makes fair,
Yeah.
fair.
And that was 2021. I was looking it up yesterday. Does it feel weird to you that it's been already 4 years? I think I'm getting to that age where like I'm losing track.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, when I look back at Red Dead, I think Red Dead's confusing because it still looks really good. Red Dead 2.
Dude,
It
it's
aged into the future
crazy.
and it will still look good in the future, which is a weird situation. Usually you can look at a game and go, I can
Yep.
guess when that game came out, or generally when that game came out. And with Red
Yeah.
Dead 2, you're like, yesterday? Maybe not yesterday, but I mean, I don't know, man. Red Dead 2 at times is pretty. Yeah, I would say
Dude.
if Red Dead
Yeah.
2 came out today, especially because of all the systems going on, I honestly think it would hold up today. Now that I think about
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I played it recently, man. It's
Yeah,
still
it's crazy.
incredible. Yeah.
The other thing is AMD, man. So
New GPUs.
and good ones, man. They got the RX 9070, and then I got the RX 970 XT is the other one that I had written down.
Right.
And they showed FSR 4 finally, like, hardware accelerated.
Awesome.
Bunch. I don't think it was John. I think it was the other guys on Digital Foundry broke that down. Seemed to be insanely happy about the
And that is locked
upscaling
to
feature.
the cards, right?
That one is hardware
FSR.
accelerated. Yeah, it's distinctly. Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah, because the jump is tremendous when you use the hardware and you're actually using learning algorithms.
That's cool,
and stuff
man,
like that.
because that's a real alternative to, let's say, I think it's what 50
5090, 5070s and stuff. Oh yeah, that
Right.
particular card, yes. It's you'll have driver issues. They all have their own driver issues and idiosyncrasies,
Yeah.
including Intel. But overall, yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's
Yeah,
like
there are a couple things where I don't know if they've caught up. Like video encoding is extremely good in NVIDIA. I don't know if they're
it's
already
bad on
there.
AMD, man. It's bad.
Yeah, it's kind of always been.
Yeah, it's
bad.
always been shit. And ray tracing
Yeah.
is not equal. But
Yeah, the big difference is at low bit rates, which is what you would use in Twitch, for example. The encoding is just not good enough.
mhm.
At least it hasn't been. Maybe these new ones. I haven't looked into.
No, they updated one. I
the
have
data.
AMD and the other system, the IP,
Okay.
integrated, and it can do it, and it
Right.
can record. It can both of my
Yeah.
systems with it can record, but there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, and their quality is it's just not there.
Yeah.
I mean, look how
And
long
for recording, it's
X64
better.
was the way to go. The NVIDIA
Yes,
ones weren't
absolutely.
good, for
Yeah.
years. So, and look at us. I mean, we're obviously. I told you this prior. Like, I'm still wondering if I have a slightly borked media encoder in my 4090, because we're always
Yep.
having issues on one particular thing, and it's like, that's very weird that this one thing on this one card has a very specific, sort of
It
like
is,
oddity
yeah.
to it. So yeah. I mean, AMD's
Yeah.
doing well. Abbreviated Reviews says 9070 XT finally has some ray tracing performance too. Yeah, they are. It's just not as good, but it's definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
they've jumped up.
And I
in
think a
everything.
lot of people don't care that much about ray tracing. Even more today than, back when it came out.
Dude, ray tracing was just, we were sold a fucking, like, it's
Yeah.
just a bill of sale. It
We
wasn't
were
even the thing. It was-
sold a bill of goods.
Yeah, it sucks, man. You just get it and you're like, oh, okay, so one or two games look good, but the rest, all you see is a performance deficit. And then
Yeah.
look at some games like, I think it was Indiana Jones, where we were talking about it had base ray tracing, and one of the problems was realistic light bounce made some of the locations brighter than they should have been, but the artists
Yep.
can't art that spot anymore because mathematically it's calculated. So to try, I was talking to Absy saying, is it going to be the future where people, instead of do global illumination, they do like global de-illumination, so they can add some shadow into places that are getting artistically, the artist is like, I don't like this,
Yeah.
and how they do that. I'm
Right,
sure
because
there's
in a
ways to work
weird
around it,
way,
but-
there's no middle ground. It's either real traced or
Yeah. You have like light globes, I think is what it's not the right term, but I remember there was one or two like middle ground things where you could put like a
okay,
sphere in an area
you
and
can
sort of
add a
do
few
like a
things.
generic ray tracing. But yeah, overall, it's like it seems like the companies are just going, we're fully doing it, or it's not even in the game. And I got to be honest, I'd rather have it not in the game until it's something that just doesn't tank your frame rate. You know, feels like
That's
all
the
the time.
biggest problem, man.
Yeah,
Almost every game I've played in the recent years, I've had it turned off
yeah.
with a 3090, which is supposed to be able to,
Yeah, at
to
least
be
brute force normal
competent.
frames. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Hopefully, we'll just have to see how it all works out. But overall, very cool for AMD. So people have that ability to jump in there. Floating Point is definitely where Floating Point 8, which is the accelerated math, the new version is accelerated on AMD's chip, and that's one of the reasons why they're seeing such success. It's awesome. So that kind of thing that they're doing, where Nvidia is sort of going on the AI side, which by the way I think is also a positive, but not a positive in the results, but a positive towards looking towards the future. AMD is sort of sticking with the more tried and true, and they've done really well, and they've shown that if you put your ass out there even one time, somebody's going to slap it. And AMD is like, well, we've got at least a middle line card, because these aren't super expensive either. Well, in video card terms.
Yeah.
You know.
They're at what, like 600
Yeah,
bucks?
yeah. I don't know what they're at if there's scalping going on, which is
Oh,
pretty.
true.
You know.
Yeah.
Anybody get one? Anybody in chat? Did anybody get the new AMD? That'd be interesting to see if anybody was able to, how easy or how difficult it was to get. That can definitely pop up. Do me a favor, jump into Discord, Johnny, and let's go through the questions that the amazing peeps have dropped for us that I'm sure are super, super highly intellectual.
Yeah, definitely.
That are definitely the height of. These are most likely questions that even Neil deGrasse Tyson will have difficulty answering. Let's go.
Pagan Loft says, is there any recent game where the advertisement of the story sold you on it before the lore mechanics, studio, etc.?
Where the trailer of like the story, so
The
like maybe the
advertisement of
cinematic
the
trailer.
story. Oh yeah, maybe yeah. I think that's what he means. So maybe like a cinematic trailer. I think with Wukong,
No shit.
I don't remember if they showed up cinematic, like fully cinematic, but I think even from the first time I saw it, I thought, damn, that's gonna be a cool,
World, cool
setting with the
fiction.
mythology
Right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm pretty anti CGI trailer. Not anti, but definitely cynical towards them. So I don't think there's been one, at least in a long time. That's
Mhm.
not for me. What else we got?
Yeah, because even Space Marine things like that, they started off with gameplay, kind of.
Exactly, or we
Yeah.
already knew what Space Marine 1 was. So you're
Yeah.
just like, this is 2. We're gonna get generally somewhat the same. What else we got?
This one from Zpontiff. Question. I've heard this discussed on the podcast and in other podcasts where there's a controversy when a deceased person's likeness is used in games. Onimusha is going to have Toshiro Mifune
Yeah.
in it, and some people have questioned that he's been dead for 30 years. What's a good amount of time to wait? 10, 100 years? Also throw out legal concerns, as that's a quagmire. I'm more looking for public opinions.
I don't think you ever should unless the family says okay.
Unless the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it's the same with movies and anything like that, right?
Yeah, because Charles Bronson sold some whiskey, I think, in a Japanese commercial, and that caused all kinds of. Because Charles Bronson, I believe,
Didn't
died of colorectal cancer, and people were really pissed that he was in a
whoa.
commercial. What were you gonna say?
Didn't what was his name? Paul Walker, the guy from Fast and Furious that passed
Paul
away.
Walker's Fast and Furious, yeah.
Paul Walker. I'm pretty sure they did some like CGI of him.
Oh, they did in the movies. They used his brothers.
Martin.
Yeah.
Did they?
They did. His family said it was okay, and his not twin, but very close. They even show a video of his brother doing the filming. There's a scene in this. By the way, there's 2 scenes in this. Corridor Crew, shout out to that YouTube channel. One of my favorite YouTube channels of
Yeah,
all
they're
time.
great.
Dude, binge worthy. One of maybe two channels in the world that are binge worthy for me. I will turn them on. They're nerds, but they caught two parts in the Fast and Furious movie that I swear to you, I could see usually when it was CGI, and there is a scene that is so basic and normal that I thought that is for sure Paul Walker having filmed it. And they're like, actually, that's one of the CGIs. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean,
Wow.
it was so perfect that I still questioned it until they showed like a baby breakdown. And that's when I was like, okay, all right. You guys, I mean, I legitimately was getting ready to like pop off in the comments and be like, I don't want to call you guys on this because you guys know your thing, but that seems like that's impossible. But nope. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I would say family members. If family members okay it, that's the
Yeah.
only thing. Because you're copying somebody's. I mean, you could say historical figures. I guess that goes even farther. Like, can you do Genghis Khan? Well, obviously you can. So I
Yeah,
guess
I
there's
guess. Or
what
even presidents.
presidents. Yeah, because
Can you
Forrest
well
Gump. Remember, JFK shakes Forrest Gump's hand
oh,
in Forrest Gump. So
I forgot about that. And it obviously
I wonder if they
was.
reached out to anybody, like to his estate, just to because he's got grandkids or whatever. I wonder if there's
Right.
yeah, I
I
don't know.
think if you're a public figure like that, like
Yeah, you're lost if you're a
you've
public
just signed
figure.
away your rights,
You're
man.
screwed. You're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got? Oh
This
shit.
one from
Live.
Colis, with VR seeming to be a bit uh seeming to be a niche part of gaming and struggling to make it more mainstream, and layoffs impacting the industry and every other industry. I was wondering how you guys see games, their development, and the industry as a whole evolving into the future.
Yes, I did get a DM. I'm aware I forgot to make the video live and put it's or not live, but I put it to public and then unlisted again. It's
Oh,
not listed.
damn.
Um all right. So VR, man, I
Will it ever be the way to play games,
sure.
do you think?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, big screen got really close with their big screen glasses because they're shaped to your face. You use an iPhone, which is also a shitter. You can't use an Android, which immediately restricts a bunch of buyers because they have to go borrow
Yeah.
somebody's fucking iPhone. Like that kind of stuff is just ridiculous. But that one was small enough. I think routers are definitely good enough to do wireless now. It's pretty ridiculous, in fact. But dude, VR is weird because I have them. I've joked with you. I can touch mine. I got a Pico right here, and I can touch it.
Yep.
I still have difficulty turning it on, um, because something else will be there. You want to lay down, and maybe the thing is, hitting the back of your head, or you want to show a friend the game while you're playing it, or you don't want your family members to think you're watching fucking Jenna Hayes movies. So you're like, hey, I'm just gonna play this out and about on my flat screen, so I'm not doing questionable shit. I think the big problem too is the VR augmented glasses or the AR augmented glasses are really eating VR's lunch because they don't cause the motion sickness VR does. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, at least that I know, who have got like the new Nreal or maybe Ventrue, and they play those and they're like, you know what? This is the middle ground I probably wanted. And the cool thing about it is you can plug it into anything, your cell phone, your tablet. You just put on a pair of glasses and you have a big screen. Lord Addict, I believe, was telling me he was on a flight for 6 hours and played the Steam Deck, and he was like, dude, I was in a world. I didn't even know I was on a flight anymore. I was just flying and playing games. So they're good, dude. They're, me, because I even said don't get them because they had some issues, and I was getting, there was the issues with the follow and stuff, but they've really made some improvements. Like, just VR is hard, man. Like, what would cause you to, how about this? What would cause you to turn on your VR? How about this? One game can always get me to turn on anything. See, I
Sure.
think you get this sort of bloviated discussion where it's like, oh, Half-Life 3. Sure, Half-Life 3 will sell some, and some people will play Half-Life 3, but that's not the same thing as multiple titles being available so that it's a true replacement. Otherwise, you have bought yourself a temporary screen, which is
Yeah.
a huge amount of money in today's current economy to say, let's say Half-Life 3, $60 plus 400 for a good headset, or 299 or whatever, plus you're possibly signing away privacy rights to some of these companies. I don't know. What about you? If I said, see, here's the thing, dude, I don't even know if this is a fair question, but is there a game or a type of game, because you did Elite, right? No Man's
Yeah.
Sky. I mean, we do space games, but is there a game that, or how many games would you need in VR that were AAA before you decided to get another headset? How about that? How many games would you need that were good for you to buy another headset?
To buy another one?
To buy another one. So new tech, because your screens are old now, they're like, because you probably got a Quest 2.
No, I have a Pico 4.
Oh, you've got the Pico like I do. Okay, well, those
Yeah.
two are like
That's
in
a
the
solid
middle.
one.
That's a solid
Yeah, in
one.
the middle.
And so obviously Quest 2 is fairly solid too. So we're in that
Yeah.
solid range. So, but I am going to say it. I am going to say that even though I like my Pico a ton, super light, very nice system, let's say, how many games would cause you to buy a new one that is 4K, wider FOV? Like, what would cause you to jump back into an ecosystem for a new one? That, like, let's say,
Yeah, I don't think it would be one game, because it's what you're
Right.
saying, that one game doesn't create the ecosystem,
Mhm.
and one game doesn't equal. It
An
doesn't remove the
ecosystem.
friction
Right.
of inherently having to take it. And dude, I've reduced every bit of friction I can think of. It's right there. It's plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's fucking ready,
Mhm.
right? But and yet I rarely use it right
Mhm.
now. I played Subnautica like a month ago. That was cool,
In VR?
but in VR.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, scary and awesome. So if something like that comes out, I would definitely pick it up and try it.
Pick it
But
up
to
and try it.
me, not enough stuff is coming out. I mean, there was one more or less recent one, the one with the Titans and stuff. I forgot the name.
Oh yeah, it was the fantasy one. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I do know of the game. I know that much.
Yeah.
All right.
I definitely considered picking that up. I didn't in the end. But yeah, I think that's it. We need more games to start coming out, create an attractive ecosystem, give us a reason to play that over flat screen. Because the reality is, flat screen is so convenient. And I can look at my second screen while we're chatting and we're in Discord and everything. Whereas if I'm in VR, everything is clunkier if you're trying to do multiple things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're just at that point to where it's very difficult to look at something and say, okay, this is enough. There's just I mean, it's a lot of money to just sort of know it's not going to be used for everything. GeForce Now works on some of them, which is great. Streaming Xbox works on some of them, which is great. There's workarounds and have been for a while to do those, which is awesome. There's a lot of tricks you can do. But I'm telling you right now, almost everybody I know has gone to the glasses. Not because they are equal, because they're not. But okay, let me tell you one place it's equal, Johnny. There's a free GitHub program, and I apologize. I'm not going to say what it is because, number one, I can't remember. Number two, I haven't used it as much as everything else, so I don't want to, have people get it and it causes crashes. But it tracks your head with like dots on your headphones, and you can use normal and real glasses and play VR and look around. So that's already sort of eating the lunch of the more expensive ones. And you're starting to get that point where somebody just says, well, what's good enough? And to a lot of people, the privacy of a screen, even if it doesn't have VR full movement, is good enough. I mean, because I've played No Man's Sky in the Nreal glasses. And by the way, Nreal glasses have a phenomenal screen. They may have other issues, but I will say their screen is amazing. And it was a blast. And it was almost better because it wasn't VR, because VR has other things involved. Bad controls. I'm not a fan of the VR controls in No Man's Sky where you use the game pads. You can, or not the gamepad, but that you can use the VR controllers. And I was yeah, I was sold on that until the moment it lost vision of something, probably because of my desk, because I was even using the Steam head ins, and it lost it for a second, and then the controller thought I was over here. You're just like, that's not as fun. So.
Yeah.
Roadkill says, did you play Batman in VR? Yeah, that was fun. Batman in VR was definitely enjoyable. Wi-Fi 7 going to be 802. It's going to allow 23,000 megabits per second. Yeah. Mine, I already have Wi-Fi 7, and it's pretty nice. Wi-Fi 6 was already really good. As
Yeah,
long as you
6
separate.
is pretty nuts.
Yeah, you just separate a channel from everything else. That's like a clean channel matters more than almost anything. Like having a nice, clean channel for your stuff. But good question, but we're going to need something. I don't know. Deckard is supposedly from Steam coming out, but I heard the $1,100 price range. Fuck that.
Oof.
I'm not. No way. No
That's
way.
the other problem too.
Yeah.
Pretty expensive.
It's a big one. What else you got?
Just a quick thing here. You mentioned Mecha Break and 2 Point Museum are out.
Yeah,
well, it's an open beta for Mecha.
Yeah, Mecha Break looked really cool. I haven't got a chance to play it, but it seemed to be doing pretty well. And then 2 Point Museum is very fun. Reg got it and seems to have really liked it as well. So I just want to tell people those games.
I've liked those games.
Mhm.
I only played 2 Point Hospital, but I
Hospital?
liked it.
Yeah, because they had Campus, Hospital, then this one just came out. Yeah, very good. So from what I've played, very good. What else we got?
This one from Peebo Gem. Question: what is a channel, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc., that you follow but is unlike anything else you usually consume or people would be surprised you follow? Mine would be this mechanic who I find hilarious. I'm not huge into cars and I would never watch videos on car repair unless I need to fix something, but I find this guy so entertaining. I like this question.
Yeah, I follow Sam and Monica. It's a couple. They're a couple. He was in England. She was in the United States. I can't remember how they met. They appeared on YouTube Shorts, just two people who were doing long distance, and they were both fun. He was trying to figure out English society or American society, and like I don't know why, but when I see a YouTube short from them, I'll usually watch it, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's because I'm not into that, but it just popped up, and for whatever reason, they were both fairly pleasant people, which matters on YouTube Shorts in particular. So yeah, I just sort of sat back and was like, okay, I'll go ahead and check it out. So that's probably mine. What about yours?
Dude, people might not expect this, but I love watching this dude that goes camping with his dog.
I've seen a lot of camping ones. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I think it's called Go 4x4. So Go 4x4.
Mm-hmm.
If you search that, you'll find it. And every time he goes with his car somewhere, I think he's Austrian, and he goes. It's usually always raining too, which I love. And he's out there. He's like cooking some food for him and his dog. He's pitching a tent, like doing some stuff. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, I watched the really nerdy crew cut glasses survivalist as well, where he'll be like, I'm going to build an igloo, and he has a little tracked vehicle.
Oh, yeah, the builds too.
Yeah.
Like building a hut or building a whatever.
Yeah.
Cabin.
I love those, man. I love them.
Yeah.
Just
dude.
they're great. And they just go out and, there was a big hubbub about survival channels where they got caught using backhoes and all this stuff. And in the end, the ones I watch most of the time, you watch them building it. So if they're using a backhoe, in fact, I'm actually more impressed they hid the backhoe in the ones I'm watching, if they are. So I'm like, okay, whatever. It's still crazy.
They're still doing the thing.
They're still doing the thing and going out there and showing people how to build, which is awesome, where they're like, where they explain it. So yeah, those are very fun channels, but they're so big now. I guess I didn't think about that, but yeah, I definitely watch those. Manual with the DOP 500. I don't know what DOP is, but thank you very much for the super chat. He says Starfield's going to get new content, maybe, or release on PS5 as well. Needs a second win. Love the podcast. Yeah, I was excited for this. So Bethesda just, or the Starfield Twitter just basically said, we are planning on like new content as well. I think we already knew there was another DLC, or there were some rumors. I don't want to say we knew. And then Avowed also stated that they basically turned around and decided that they are looking at expansions or DLC as well. And, I still play Starfield all the time, like just plunk around.
Do you?
Dude, yeah. Like the number of people in the Discord who randomly jump into Starfield is insanely high. And it's weird because it's like No Man's Sky is great, but terrible combat. Starfield's travel is not as good, but better combat. And then like X4 is... neither one of those are good, but it's got really good systems. So it's like none of them have hit the
Yeah,
mark for me.
the whole thing.
None of them have hit the whole boat. So when I'm in the desire to like just explore Starfield and just landing on a planet, driving the car around is fucking fun as hell. And then I have a couple mods for it now too. And then No Man's Sky, fun as hell. I just jump into it. So yeah, I'm excited to see. And I did enjoy their DLC. It was shorter, but I liked that it was just a place. It was like, boom, we're going to focus on this and do it.
Yeah.
The car also
Contained.
surprised me, Johnny, because I think I'm on the record in here actually for bitching a lot about the idea of the car.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be, it didn't replace a jetpack because I do like slower exploration in my games. But I admit I did jump on that fucking thing and like tear-assed around a couple places. I installed a Scooby-Doo mod, which replaces the car with a fucking Scooby-Doo mystery van. And I was like, I was enjoying the hell out of myself. Just, just playing around. So, yeah,
So
good for them.
does the car just spawn with you when you land?
The car is outside of you. Yeah. And then there's mods that let you basically put the car in a bay in your ship, which is what I have. So like you can see the car in the bay, in the ship.
Okay, that is causing me to want to play the game right now. That single thing, because there's something about
seeing the thing
docking into the ship with the vehicle that speaks to me beyond words. I've seen it. I've seldom seen it in games. Like Subnautica had it, the docking.
Subnautica and No Man's Sky finally added it with the fighters coming out of the freighter ship. And
yes.
I was like, oh, thank God, because you're like me.
That's awesome.
That's why I think Star Citizen, I mean, I talk to Indio about it or abbreviated reviews about it all the time. I'm like, listen, I know Star Citizen's all over the place. But when I look at Star Citizen and I see fucking all of us jumping into a ship and then like, jumping out
they have
right
that
in a
too?
speeder. Yeah. Honestly, the only game I think might get there is Star Citizen because the combat is better than No Man's Sky, and I don't think No Man's Sky will ever be able to fix their combat. It's just the way their engine works and how it works, right?
Right.
And it's looking its age in the last couple times. I've been like, okay, they're getting to that thing.
Yeah.
And when I played Star Citizen, obviously they continue to patch in performance, and I know it's a runaway title for sure. Like I have no like illusions, but when I see what people are doing, and then even the little bit I've been able to do, I'm like, oh damn, this might be like the sandbox I want. Because the sandboxes seem to take a long time. They just seem to always never get day one. It takes them a while. The mods, I mean, Starfield isn't a sandbox in the same way, but Starfield, the mods that I just told you about, I have like 3 or 4, and I'm telling you right now, they changed the game. For example, I took the robot Vasco in Starfield, which I just never liked him, and I replaced him with Legion's voice from the Mass Effect games, and then I changed his graphics to be like the cyberpunk company in Starfield, Ryujin.
Oh, yeah.
And it changed the entire way of, like, now he's with me almost all the time. And he's like, attacking enemies. I'm like, fuck, finally. Like, he fits. So mods can help, and that's what's one great thing about their game is, like, you can mod the shit out of it. I still play Fallout 4 VR. That's one of the only games I still engage
and Bethesda games are just
they're
so good.
It's so good for that particular thing. Yeah, it's great. Just reading some of these. Let's see. I've not returned since I beat it. Monster Hunter Wilds plays extremely well on my PS5 Pro. I'm 45 hours in, 0 issues. Excellent.
That's good, man.
About the bear expansion. I think unless I'm incorrect, I think the console versions of that run fine. I haven't really heard many issues with the console versions of that.
Yeah, I've heard some issues with
have you?
FPS inconsistency on Xbox specifically. But I don't remember if it was S.
That's
or
weird
X.
because it might have been S because the Xbox. Yeah. Oh no! Wait a minute. I do remember seeing that as well. There was something going on.
I think someone in our Discord, maybe Jay or someone like
Jay's
that.
got it. No, Jay does have an X. It's Solar who has the S. Yeah. He might have. But I'm really glad that they're doing it. Wood says. Wood says it was above that. No, it's Zepp says, think of how many people who have gave money to Star Citizen who are now dead. True. Think about how many people who today are in this chat. Somebody may be dead as well. Death happens, man. You got to spend the money the way you want, buddy. Just saying. I could die tomorrow. I'm not gonna regret any money I spend today.
We
That's
could
for
all
sure.
be bots talking to each other.
Dude, what if I invest in you
Dude.
and you invest in me, but it's the same amount of money, so nothing fucking happens?
Yep.
That's a pyramid scam.
It's just numbers
It's just
changing.
numbers changing hands. It's just
Yeah.
crypto coin, Carrick coin. I ought to make a coin. That's what I should do. What else do we got?
This one from Green Saturn. Hey, ACG, any advice for someone who feels stretched out at their workplace, asking for a friend? I love these, the life questions. What do you got? What wisdom do you have, Carrick, on this one?
Can we agree that stretched out probably means where
It
he's being
sounds a bit
pulled
bad,
multiple
admittedly.
ways to do his job?
Oh, like spread too thin?
Spread too thin, like butter over.
I think
too much
either
bread,
that or
as
maybe
Lord of the Rings
burnt
said.
out would be.
Burned out, I would say focus on stuff outside of work, because you're not going to unburn yourself out from work unless you can ask to do less.
Decompress. Find a way to decompress.
I don't know. I think
afterwards.
stretched out probably means stretched thin, because he's Australian.
think so.
I'm pretty sure he's saying stretched thin, because I talk to him a lot. I mean, dude, stretched thin sucks because it's like, to fix it, you have to take time, which then puts you behind. But I would say that I know that times where I like it, admittedly, I've told Johnny that I like it when my day ends and I have more things than when it starts. Like, that's sort of me. But I definitely would say planning, efficiencies and stuff like that. I mean, stretched thin is so weird because you can't, if you ask a company to do less, a lot of times that's not, it sucks, but it's like somebody be like, oh, is he?
It also depends if the ask is reasonable.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if you feel stretched thin because you have some big projects going on, but everything
that's
is
way different than
reasonable.
like unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, or if you have like a bad boss that's asking of you something that is too much or unreasonable, there I would say try to set some boundaries. Easier said than done, but that would be something I would explore. But if it's just normal and like it's as expected, man, try to find maybe a better balance if you can, in terms of just leaving at the, if it's 5 or 6 o'clock or whatever, try to not drag so that it, you're having like extra time. Make sure you have your life balance to at least feel like you have some time for yourself too.
If it's at work with duties, I would say also scheduling. Like, people don't like scheduling. I love it because you can then say, like, from 8 to 10, I'm doing this, from 11, and then you have to tell other people, or they have to become accustomed to it, to where you can use it then as an excuse, or not an excuse, but a real driver.
Blocking out time for stuff.
Yeah,
is
so
awesome.
if somebody comes to you and says at 4, I need you to do this, and you're like, listen, that's my 8 to 10 part of this, because I just don't have the time. If they get accustomed to it, and you make sure that people are aware, because that's the other thing, is communication. Because I've seen really good workers that don't communicate. Those are the ones that leave, because they're not good at making sure people know when they say no, or they say they have to move something, that that technically they're not being a dick. They're just trying to make sure they get as much stuff done as humanly possible. But it's hard right now too, because like you said, the one thing that matters is, like, if it's realistic, as in you just have a lot to do, then sleep and outside hobbies to make sure that you're not thinking about work all the time. But that's about it, because many people get stretched thin for a year or two at their job, or even in hobbies. Like you and I've talked, it's like when I was doing all the podcasts, man, I remember one day just going, wait a minute.
Yeah, like, for a time you went ham on podcasts.
Yeah, and I remember looking at like what I was making doing other podcasts, doing my own podcast twice a week. We were thinking of a third podcast. Oof. And all of a sudden one day I was like, wait, what? Like, just realistically, what in the hell am I even doing? And it's nice now, because I'm actually, when I was talking to Lord Addict, I've talked to other people who are like starting to pull back as well. I think everybody saw that you could do that kind of stuff. That's the one problem at work. If you think you can do it, you do it once, and then suddenly you're doing it. And then
and
you just
and for you, that's the thing, it's one of your skill sets, is being able to talk about stuff for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
Eloquently. So I guess you saw, hey, this is something I can do. Let's lean into that and do a bunch of it. But then at some point, less is more, and you kind of have to focus up on less things then.
And then one time I remember doing the podcast. I think I was doing a podcast with Abzi, and no, I was doing the podcast with all of us, all four of us. And I remember going, did I say that on one of the 3 other podcasts?
Yeah.
And then I was doing a Sunday. I was occasionally doing visits on Sundays, and people, you say no to somebody, and they like, the other thing is saying no. You just said to set boundaries, which is smart, because I wasn't. So like when a friend would invite me to a podcast, I'd be like, yeah, man, I'll go. And then after a while I was saying no. And then I would explain myself, because that's the way I am. I'd be like, no, but I want you to know. I normally would, but it's just like, I was having issues where I'm like, what should we cover today? And sometimes I feel like, and you get this with people who do podcasts every day, news channels, where you can check in on a Tuesday, and sometimes you get confused that on Monday they didn't just talk about it. And or they get jaded. And the other thing with gaming, or with his job or your job, if you get jaded, sorry, I can fucking spot that a mile away. If I'm watching a video, it doesn't matter if it's games. I'm going to say I know about games, airsoft, martial arts, music. Those are the ones I know. And if I watch a YouTube video, dude, I can tell you somebody's jaded in like 30 seconds. You'd be like, nope. They're like, it's so easy to be jaded and not think you are. You're like, oh, I'm just being critical or whatever. And you're like, but it doesn't even make sense.
You just continue on autopilot.
Yeah, and it becomes autopilot, and sometimes taking a step back. But jobs are harder to take a step back from, because somebody takes a step in and they replace you. Like,
that's a tough one.
What else we got? What's up, baseball gear? Nice talking to you.
Hey,
Sorry,
man.
I was just saying hi to him. Go ahead.
Oh, we talked about rental service, PlayStation rental service. And then we have this one from A1 Nagel. Have you ever reviewed a sports game on the channel, or plan to in the future?
Yeah, oh yeah. NBA, UFC.
Yeah.
NBA, UFC,
WWE.
Madden, WWE.
WWC.
Future sports games. I probably reviewed 1 or 2 and forgot. A Blood Bowl, which admittedly it is football. It's just D&D characters. Yep. And will I? Yes. They are notoriously influencer heavy, though. They like their streamers. They like when it becomes a YouTube reviewer, little bit hedgy on that a couple times, because they, there's micros and there's some stuff that gets mentioned where a streamer is more just like, I'm playing the game, you can see me play it, where a reviewer's putting their foot down.
Yeah.
There's some difficulty. What else you got?
This one from Jesus Crust. Thoughts on the announcement of the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater games? If you already covered that, what is your favorite sports game? Mine is the old SSX games.
SSX Tricky and SSX?
Tricky.
Thoughts on what?
The new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. So there were some leaks that there is a new...
And they announced, finally. Yeah.
Did they announce? Okay.
3+4, what is it called? Which is like 3 and 4 remake, I guess, together as one.
But so it's a remake? Gotcha.
Of 3 and 4 mixed together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like skateboarding, which doesn't feel current anymore. I know that sounds weird, but
it's in a way it's tragic, man, because I loved Tony Hawk 2, even 3 and 4. I really liked those, but like 2 was legendary. And when the remake came out, I heard it was a really good remake. It got really good reviews and reception. And I thought, I love that game. Let me jump back into it. And I couldn't stand the gameplay. It's one of those I've either outgrown or just not where I'm at right now mentally to play that anymore. So I don't even know what I would want from a skater game, really.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more towards the skate line, where it's a bit more
simulator.
sim.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the answer. Or maybe it's a bit more tycoon-like, where maybe you have some elements of running a business around skateboarding, perhaps. Or, I don't know what it is. But just the way
that's a good thought process right there, actually.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
But as it is, I'm not too excited about the remakes. That's just the reality for me.
Same. And when it gets closer, it'll go up, but right now it's on a fringe, I guess, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. What's weird though, Johnny, is you always hear people say, "Man, I used to play it. I loved the music, blah blah blah." It's like, okay, if it's all nostalgia, I guess that's okay too. But what I'd really like is a new one. I,
Yeah.
I, I
I mean,
also don't get super excited about remakes. So if it was a new one with current music and so where you're hearing new indie musicians and stuff that are now
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff and new people now, but it's like it's even called Tony Hawk, and I just feel like there's a I get it because it's Tony Hawk, but there's certainly skaters who are actually of an age to where they don't have brittle bone disease. I mean, the dude's fucking 50 plus or whatever. It's like, and I totally understand attaching his name, but I need to know, like, are the new, if you start telling me there's brand new people in there, there's all the new moves, there's new music from current, then I would probably be more into it than just a remake of those.
Yeah. Yeah, because I still listen to a lot of the
Exactly.
old,
100%.
punk songs from
100%.
Tony 2, but it would be, yeah, it's just different to play the game now.
Yeah. What else do we got?
He did ask, what's your favorite sports game? Do you have any standouts?
The NFL 2K series were incredible.
Yeah.
They blew my mind when they first came out, man. Speedball, the Cyber Ball, I think it was called on the Sega Genesis, was robots and football. Blood Bowl, I love. Baseball says didn't win play ATV quad power racing. It's fucking difficult to remember that's a sport game, but I do like the motocross games. And they're not bad. Like, they have made some severe inroads into things like deformed terrain, cool moves, current racers, like that kind of stuff. I know that we don't think of them as sports, but I think they are. I also think NBA at times when I see it is stunning how good it looks, and stunning like how cool that game can be at times. But the microtransactions are just same thing with wrestling. UFC is pretty good. I've had some good times on UFC.
Yeah. What's that motorbike game?
ATV versus motocross, or motocross versus ATV were some. And then there's a new one that came out that might have been named after Monster. Maybe it was a sponsorship with Monster. I could be remembering.
I was thinking of a different one, the one where you need to like balance the bike back and forth.
Many of them have that now. Yeah, many of them have it. Yep. Where you'll have like let's say, I'm just guessing the moves, but bumper left and right or brake left and right, which adjusts
right, that type
the
of
bike
thing.
rolls.
Yeah,
And then you have the gas and brake.
there's a line of games there that I really liked.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name now. Sorry about that. But yeah,
There we go. Thank you, Nagel. Monster Energy. Listen to this name. Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship. If that's not a shitty name, nothing is.
That's terrible. I'm trying to remember which one. It will come back to me. It's so good.
What else?
All right, so let me bring this up again. Next up from Peebo Jam, who's your favorite movie or video game antagonist or villain?
Okay, you answered this one well. I'll let these dogs in because they're freaking.
Okay. Oh, good villains. This is a tough one to choose because I think villains in general are pretty interesting. Villains are usually very high in proactivity. When you think about it, in a lot of stories, the villain is doing something and the heroes are reacting. So very often the villain is more interesting because I like proactivity, I like competency, and a lot of times the heroes are just having a crack and they're not very competent. There are some exceptions, of course, but I think Darth Vader is a classic great villain because there's some equal levels of like mastery over what he does and also mystery, which is nice. And then you can see the reaction of people around him, like fearing him and stuff like that. And the way that he will walk faster to make people struggle to keep up with him and subtle things like that. So I think he's a classic example of a really good villain. What do you guys have in chat? Any good villains?
Dude,
Elusive Man.
Such a Chad though. The walking faster thing is like legitimately from power books.
Wasn't it
like 1980s?
Yeah, was one of our guests, maybe Brian? He talked about that.
Oh, Brian Edward Hill.
Yeah,
He may
I
have.
think so.
He may have.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff's like straight up power play shit you do with people where you walk, you try to like appear like you're faster than everybody else. Um what's the best antagonist? Is that what you're saying? What's
Yeah,
like
best antagonist in a movie or video game.
Rob Roy had an amazing bad guy played by the dude from Remember Me. Not Gary Oldman, the other one. Can't Man, I can't believe I can't remember his name because I bring it up all the fucking time. But anyway, Rob Roy, that bad guy was incredible. Like, you hated him by the end. I think a bad guy needs to be. I need to hate the bad guy. I don't give a shit too much if he's had a sob story, because the choices you make are the choices you make. So I don't give a fuck. Like when somebody's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is why he turned," whatever. He turned evil. I
Doesn't
don't
need to
give a
be
shit.
relatable.
Doesn't need to be
necessarily.
relatable. And in fact, Tim Roth, thank you. In fact, when he is too relatable, I'm just like, okay, whatever. You're trying to,
Oh yeah, Tim Roth.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
bring
he's
him
great.
down. I liked him because there was nothing about him. They mentioned one thing about his parents. He did while he was banging somebody. He talked just for a second about a family member, and I was like, that's already too much. Like, you're just a POS person, and that's what I like, because when you get brought down, it's amazing. Yeah, I loved him. Darth Vader's a good choice because Darth Vader's classic. There's no antagonist like Darth Vader anymore because he's too slow for current media.
Yeah.
Nobody'd buy into Darth Vader. Like, you already saw that when Darth Maul came out. Like, you could tell that things were already moving towards the angry squirrel who can use the Force kind of bullshit that just like that bores me to no end. So like when I saw Darth Maul, I was just laughing, go, this guy is fucking loser. It's like, I'm evil. Darth Vader was just the presence.
Yeah,
worked for me. I'm trying to think if there's somebody else. Oh, you know who weirdly enough is good? If in general, because, and he is explained a little bit, but I've liked him in the movies a lot. Even the old ones. I actually like Zod from Superman. I actually
the recent Zod.
Even the original Zod, which is, I'm still a bigger fan of Superman 2, the old Christopher Reeve one. I like Zod. I liked but he was played off differently in each movie. But for some reason, I've always liked Zod. I do like that. I like that bad guy. I don't know why. Maybe because he just kicks the ever living shit out of Superman a lot of times, and then Superman comes back. But I just sort of like a guy who's like, dude, seriously, you really think you're that good? He's like, I got my power 3 minutes ago, and I've already kicked your ass, because he's militarily so far beyond Superman, because like that's his life. And I did something about Zod, man. He's always intrigued me. Trying to think if there's a Marvel character, because I haven't really liked a lot of the Marvel. I like Dr. Octopus, the actor, Tony.
Yeah, definitely.
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, the guy who played Doc Ock was awesome in Spider-Man. I love that actor anyway. That dude nailed like the sadness of like what, the craziness, the sadness of what had happened. I love that guy, man. He was so good. But did he say video games? Oh, he said movies. He was okay with movies.
Yeah, movies or video games, he said.
Dude, what's a good video game bad guy?
Yeah, someone said the Elusive Man. I thought,
probably one of the best ones ever.
Yeah, it was fantastic. They really used
Martin Sheen nailed it. Like, that guy is a good actor anyway. Like, he nailed that. He nailed that character. Yeah, Elusive Man was incredible. Yeah, he was probably the best one in that entire thing. I would say the best bad guy in the Mass Effect series was a good ending.
Dude,
Sorry.
yeah.
One had a good ending, but I'm telling you straight up, I didn't think 2's ending was super strong because of how it ended, and 3's ending was terrible, and Andromeda was terrible. So I would say the best bad guy, the one who defeated them many times, was a good ending.
No, it's fair, but I think the Elusive Man is a good example of what I was saying, that it kind of feels like you're reacting to what he's doing in some way. Like he's orchestrating this giant thing. The same with Palpatine too, in a way, right? Yeah. Like you feel like everything is reactive from the side of the heroes a little bit.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got?
All right, we got this one from Beastie by Nature. A Latvian filmmaker made his animated movie Flow using the free software Bender. Sorry, Blender.
Blender. Bender.
Different thing.
That's a totally
Uh,
different thing. That's an adult movie or something. Anyway,
yeah.
continue.
It won Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. What free apps for pictures, animations, movies would you recommend? I mean, dude, making a full-on animated movie in Blender is like balls of steel level, right?
Yeah, I would say that Scale software that I told you about for upscaling pictures, Upscale,
Yeah,
SCAYL is free. That's probably one of the better upscalers for free, and it can I think it even automatically downloads. If I'm remembering right, I think it automatically can download even some of the new models. And then I use I think we actually talked about this in the last podcast because I feel like I've said this before, but I use Shutter Encoder for free encoding from one to the other. You can encode, like you can extract, encode. So whenever I post the audio of the podcast, it's just because I open up Shutter, throw it in, say extract audio,
yeah,
boom, it just goes. It's really good CUDA accelerated. Um, DaVinci is good for free. A lot of people like it. I've taught myself DaVinci. I'm not as big of a fan, but that's because it started as color grading software and then
yeah,
turned into an editor. So it's got some odd steps that reteaching myself didn't sound fun. But
yeah. DaVinci is a good free editor for sure.
yeah, I mean
When
it's
it comes to
full
like,
featured.
it's full feature. Yeah, for free, it's great. You can't get around like actually designing.
Right.
Like you have to do 3D design if you want to create like animations and stuff.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, like Blender is good. There are a couple others, but Blender is a good place to start. But it's a lot of work. Like it's going to be a journey.
Hmm.
Just pace yourself. There are some good tutorials out there, some free ones, some paid ones in um, what's the place? Yumi
GitHub.
Academy. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that too.
and yeah, those as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they'll also teach you a
yeah.
ton of like there's it's
Yeah.
great because
So
they're
it's
those
a
guys
full
teach it.
craft is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
you can get some free stuff to start off and play with it, but it's going to be a journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blender's great. It's just it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. I
So,
mean, and you're all and something changes and you like
yeah.
you spend another 2
Yeah.
months coming to grips with those changes. It's crazy.
Udemy. Yeah, someone corrected me. Thank you.
What else?
This one from Straven. Have there been Straven salute man? We play a lot of co-op games.
Oh, true.
Good
Yeah.
man. Straven. Have there been any games that have taken you by surprise this year, either by how good or how bad they are, or they did something
How
unexpected?
good or how bad they are?
Yeah. Any full-on surprises?
Kingdom Come
I
2
think.
ran really well.
Yeah.
And I would
Did
say
it
that
surprise you based on what you
I was gonna
expect?
say I guess no, because they even stated they didn't move to the new version because it would have taken them a year to come to grips or 2 years. So, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think just the sheer quality overall of it was surprising because it seems to be a lot higher than the original game based on what everybody's saying. I haven't played myself.
Oh, do you know what I would say? Oh, see, he's talking about entire games, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Entire games that, man, not really. Well,
I
okay.
think too we have some good expectations for games.
Yeah, he said bad as well.
Yeah.
Not bad, but definitely not cut up the way it was supposed to and didn't deliver the way it was supposed to. Bloom and Rage, for sure. Bloom and Rage
Yeah.
separates their story. Bloom is the first episode and Rage is the next, and pretty much everybody knows I'm a fan of those kind of games. And that one definitely was just didn't appeal
Not
to me.
quite at the level
Mm-mm.
of Life is Strange.
No, it and the way it cut, where it cut was just like it just did not work out for me as a fan. And I am a big fan. Like if I'm gonna give, even if it's just personal, not reviewing, just sitting back playing it, and it's just like, damn, just sucks. But yeah. What else we got?
This one from Master Stoner 99. Is there a game that just hit you differently? Can be in a good or a bad way. For me, it was KOTOR. The mix of Star
Mhm.
Wars and you choosing to be good or bad just came the right moment at the right time where it hit different for me. Still one of my favorite games ever. That game, the game that I just can't get into is WoW. Never clicked with it. Tried 3 times with friends, and always around level 30, just started to get bored. If I asked this already, then feel free to skip.
It
Um, hit you differently. Does it mean something you really liked, or maybe you
Yeah, or maybe it's
didn't,
a
but
genre
you
you
thought,
didn't think you'd like, and you ended up liking the game. Because like Life is Strange is certainly that for me, but that's a sort of cop out because that's my answer all the time. I was trying to
yeah,
think of something else that like
yeah,
made me.
it
Sorry, I
is a
have a
good answer.
migraine. Um,
No worries.
so yeah, Life is Strange. I mean, what other games? Because we see all the stuff. Like, there's not a lot of mystery. I'll tell you a game I didn't love, but I know is really good. So it surprised me. Hi-Fi Rush. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't expect that kind of game to
yeah,
like
it was
pop off,
unlike
and it
pretty
wasn't
much
like a
anything
lot of other
else.
games. Yeah, yeah. So I would say definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't need to like it to still go, wow,
No,
that
for
is
sure.
obviously a thing, and that is definitely a thing.
For me, I think Lies of P is a game that
Oh,
I was
interesting.
motivated to dislike because I disliked the demo. I was
Yeah.
burnt out on Souls, kind of everything against it, but there was something about it that kept me
Mm-hmm.
interested all the way.
Yep.
I came back for a second playthrough, which is pretty rare too in games for me. And I just loved it. Yeah, like the gameplay was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And it was definitely special.
Kyle says Helldivers, and I could definitely see Helldivers being on a lot of
Yeah.
people's list. Yeah.
Yeah. And Space Marines 2 was awesome too.
Absolutely. Yeah, Space Marine
Some
2.
really
I
good ones.
definitely I like once I played Liza P, I don't even know how without changing every single aspect of that game I would like it after playing the demo. But I definitely heard multiple people who played the demo that ended up
Yeah.
liking it. Um so you're not alone. Like that game seems to whatever was going on in the demo,
Had
I mean,
something special going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
people seem to like it. A lot of people like Lords of the nope, Forgotten Lords, Lords of the Fallen, Lords of the Fallen, the
Lords of the
remake, and I
Fallen.
was not a
Yeah.
fan of
Yeah.
that
It was
one.
a bit more mixed, but yeah, it had some really cool stuff.
A lot of people seem to like that one, especially once it got a little patched up. You know,
Yeah.
trying to think if there's anything that like. I mean, we're told everything now, right? You can't
Yeah.
surprise anybody anymore because
I mean, I think Avowed maybe hit you differently because you're kind of like going
yeah.
back to
Well,
it and
Avowed hit me differently once it got patched for balance, and once it
yeah.
got the well, I don't know if you heard me at the starting. I said, did he say a full game? Because I don't like the writing of Avowed, but that combat and the gameplay itself is like now that it's been patched up. That is
Yeah.
my jam for combat. That is, and that surprised me because those trailers looked horrendous for the gameplay. And I remember, and Guardians of the Galaxy right up there with this one, where Guardians of the Galaxy, the trailers were like, oh my God, this looks horrible. And that game was such a blast. Guardians of the Galaxy, I could play through today and probably not one time pause. And with Avowed, I beat it three times. And you know, just sitting back in the middle of a review, letting something edit, playing for an hour, switching out weapons, and just taking out bad guys. Admittedly, I play it different because I turn the difficulty all the way up and I turn the HUD off, and it
Yeah.
changes the way you have to pay attention. But I'm a difficulty fan. I like to see how games react to difficulties, and usually I
Yeah.
do notice that the level of difficulty, the higher it is, and the least amount of data I get, the better. That's why I like Arma because Arma is
Right.
like go out
Forces you to
and
be more
good luck.
engaged.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you just dead.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's
Yeah.
just a
And
part of the
normal
game
mode
because the
is pretty
writing I didn't
chill
like. Normal mode is really, dude. I just saw somebody play normal
because
mode, and I was
well,
like
you watched me play, and I was just like
mowing people down.
three-shotting bears and like
Yeah,
a bit too powerful.
yeah,
Silver was saying Killing Floor 3 got delayed
yeah. I saw that
roughly
to
a month ahead of the release.
yeah to 2026, right? I'm pretty sure it got
Right.
delayed till 2026.
No, it's set to come out later in
Oh, I thought it
2025.
was 2000. I saw that right before we went into the podcast, and I misread that then. Yeah.
So it's just later, but yeah,
Listen,
pretty close to release.
I get why people are mad, but let me tell you why this is awesome. And I firmly believe this. For fucking 30 years, all I ever heard was people bitching that companies didn't like read the room and didn't make choices quickly or didn't like react to stuff. And while it does suck, the idea, for instance, is Sony just said Concord ain't working. You know, they tried it and it's not a terrible
Yeah.
game. It was a blog game. They tried it. It didn't work. Microsoft, they released Redfall. Nope, not working. Cyberpunk, released it. Not working. We have to redo it. We want them to obviously succeed. But at the same time, I do like that companies are like, this ain't it, man. I mean, we're not in a world where you can force things as much. You still can. You're going to get the outlier. But I love that. I like that they're reacting in that way and going, you know what? This game ain't ready. And what do we hear all the time? You know, the quote that's often misquoted is like, you know, a delayed game will be delayed for a small amount of time, but a bad game will be bad forever. Neither one are true. But it's still a good indicator of the thought process people used to have. And now we're looking at these situations where companies are saying, you know what, man? This ain't ready. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'd rather have them delay it than fire the developers. I'd rather have them delay it than have a bad game. And then suddenly everybody's sitting here going, this developer, you know, cut 50% of their staff because they've released the game and they're not even in maintenance mode. Just let it happen. Delay your game. Move the fuck on. What's up, Absy? Thank you very much. 10 super chats. No, 10 memberships. People are going to be jumping in the Discord for that. Thank you very much, sir. Also nice having you leaping into to voice chat lately. He was streaming Monster Hunter yesterday, giving Cadiz some deep strats on Monster Hunter, because Cadiz was playing around and he's like, dude, there's a whole other combo line there, because you know how Monster Hunter's got the soft combo. It's like the combos aren't necessarily combos as much as they are the next set of moves quicker into this particular thing.
And one thing can flow into another. So you can turn a 3-move combo into a 5 if you use like a bridge move.
Yeah, Absy is like gifting randoms access to the Discord. Yeah, that's going to work out well. No, I'm just joking. Most of the people who watch the podcast, I think, have a tendency to like be good, what do you call it? Be good Discord. I mean, you got the occasional shithead, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's just Johnny. Dude likes, you know, banning Johnny because he's just dick to everybody. Not you, Johnny, different Johnny. I wouldn't talk bad about you right in front of you. I mean, what? No. What else we got?
Silver mentioned a couple things here. So Nintendo wins a lengthy legal battle at the French Supreme Court. So this is to do with piracy.
Did you say Silver did?
Yes.
Dude, I feel like I missed a tweet from him because I thought he was gonna. Okay, that's on me. He was. Are those in our Discord for the podcast?
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay. That's why I was asking you if he was on the last one or not. For some reason, I thought he wasn't coming to today.
Yeah, he wasn't. But yeah, then again, we didn't catch him today. Didn't see if he was around. So maybe we dropped the ball on it. But
no, that's on me. That's on me.
What?
Jay Reaper, $5 super chat. Driving in GTA 4 is terrible. No, Jay, driving is terrible, but the poker is worse. So listen to this. GTA 4 at some point got a patch to go 60 FPS. I don't know if this is just Jay's game or everybody's, but what Jay's game is doing is it's running the physics and the input in the mini games at basically 30 FPS input at 60 FPS. So he's getting doubles. So he was trying to play pool last night, and he would barely move the gamepad. Like, you know, and I don't know if have you ever doubled up on a Steam game before, where Steam will try to do its own input, and you'll be playing, and everything's super fast. Like, you go barely right on the joystick, and it's like, or you accidentally turn your DPI up on your mouse. He was playing pool last night, and it was one of the funniest things. He goes to date Michelle, the first girl, I think, in GTA 4. First thing that fucker does is get lost. Then he takes her to an abandoned bus park that looks like and so we were narrating his bad date, and it did not stop being bad. It was like no matter what he did, something happened. People were falling from the sky. He couldn't fucking play. She beat him. Then he almost killed somebody. I forgot how cool GTA 4 can be. Even though it's dire, it was one of the funniest. It was just like we were all in there going like, what the hell is going to happen? And half of it was because the game was fucked up. Like, that's sort of where fun comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, Void says exactly when Steam overrides your yeah, and it does dual inputs. It does the original game input and then does the secondary one for Steam input. Did we have something else from him? Did I miss that one?
We have a couple topics from, well, another topic from Silver, but maybe we can circle back with him.
What is it?
Next week. This one is about Acclaim being resurrected. So it's an older publisher.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, Acclaim's so old, half the people. Yeah, we can circle back on that one because I don't even think half people know what it fucking Acclaim is. And it may just
looking
be
it
the
up.
name.
It's
yeah. What else you got?
So last question today from Zaxby. Happy Friday to the best gaming podcast ever, he says in parentheses.
Oh shit.
What new to the franchise features would you like added to GTA 6? I'd like fishing from Red Dead 2. I think skateboarding would also be cool and very on brand for Florida.
Holy shit.
All new.
Did he just nail that?
Dude, that would be so good.
Dude, that is so weird because the fishing one I knew about.
What a coalescence.
But yeah, the skate discussion earlier, or Tony Hawk. That to me is so. We've talked about like capturing wild animals and stuff. That's all GTA-isms. But last night we had a discussion of what game had what sport, like golf, and whatever was in GTA 6 or 5, and then we were talking about GTA 4 with pool and stuff. Dude, it would not surprise me of all the companies in the world to do a full skating game in their game.
And just like moving around the streets with a skateboard would be so thematic.
That would be fun. That would be amazing. I mean,
what a great idea.
So here's my big problem with that though. Is would it fit? And the reason why I bring it up is because if you look at GTA 5, golf fits Michael, right? Like as a sport.
Right.
Those two characters, you were talking about what game, or somebody had asked what game surprises us. I don't know what's going on with GTA 6 when it comes to how you're going to do the side stuff. Are you these two dire characters who look like there's a possible like falling out, or there's a Bonnie and Clyde? Like, would it make as much sense for you to go? I mean, I know Trevor could play golf, but if you get my drift, it fed one of those characters. It made sense, and it makes sense to do fishing in Red Dead.
Yeah.
But if these, I don't know how they're telling their story in 6, because the trailers I've seen don't look like a game where you'd be like, I'm going to go skating, even though I'd be fine.
But they are pretty good at doing this initial explosion of stuff happening and then creating a plateau.
Yeah, where
of
there's
normality,
a dead time almost, even though it's
not
dead.
Like a dead time or like a normality time. And I think that's where they can insert all these activities. And they've always been really good at this. If you think back to GTA 5, the recent one, a lot of stuff goes down in the introduction of the game. But then they find a way to create this space where you have the slower plots going on, or the smaller plots too.
Yeah. I mean, I agree overall. All I have to go on is the trailers, and the trailers don't feel that way yet. So it's like, I don't know when the heist happens or when they're breaking in and they're robbing somebody, or is that just them paying somebody back for doing something wrong to them? And it's not what you think. I mean, they're good at that.
It could just be a part of the guy's identity.
Yeah.
Like maybe he just grew up in Florida. He likes skateboarding, and that's just, he
skateboarding
goes to places on a skateboard.
Other ones, I definitely think, I'm just guessing here, but when you see the fan boats, I think they'll be racing there. I also assume you will be able to capture wild animals, because they showed that in the trailer.
Those are so thematic too.
Those are
because you see them in like shows and everything.
Yeah, and that's Florida for you. Like, to me, Florida. So I don't know if you heard me. I don't know if you were in this chat, but we were talking about why Florida, and I was saying, listen, to Americans overall, I think, Like Florida's the Beirut of America, or Florida's like the whatever you're like when you grow up, there's always a place you hear about. So everybody else thinks Florida's
Yeah.
the Florida of America, which makes sense. But Americans usually, just like when you're in your nation, you think of us, you'll have Citizen Sleeve will come in who's from where you are. You might talk about another place as being the odd place, right?
Yeah.
That's when you'll sometimes hear Texas, but I think even people from Texas, like Penty, will be like, no, dude. Florida's like whatever is going on over there is its own thing. And I think that's the only place they could have done it. Like it fits if they wanted to do the West. I mean, you could have done Texas, but I think Florida is quite literally it's like now the Wild
Yeah.
West in a way of America. It's like, what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on?
Are those fan boats like real? Do people
yeah.
still use them to this
Yeah,
day?
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Because
definitely.
they seem like the most unsafe thing ever. Just a
I mean,
giant fan blade.
they're a big inflatable, so it's well, the fan blade is covered. I mean, you could certainly put your finger through any cover because it has to move air, which means
Right.
the
Yeah.
holes have to
Exactly.
be
That's
bigger
what
than
I
a
thought.
hand.
Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just fall
definitely.
back accidentally.
Yeah,
or
those
something.
things are awesome, man. You'll see like people just
Dude,
rocking around on
just
those.
a massive fan
Yeah,
back there.
yeah, the Florida
What?
Keys.
Why
all
do you
that kind of
think
stuff.
they would use that instead of like the underwater motor you see in
'Cause
motorboats?
grass.
Oh,
It'll
really?
kill a motor. Yeah, even in my
Because
like
it's all like
yeah,
grassy
because the
under the
grass grows
water.
up, and then if you have a normal motor under the water, it'll just wind it up, and you would never be able to
Oh,
go more than 4 feet. You'd just be stuck.
okay. Yeah, I never
So
thought of that.
depending on where you are, swampy lands, and if it has tendril grass, almost all those places have somebody will have, or
Okay.
they'll have a really shallow motor, or they'll have other
Yeah.
designs that'll stop that grass from getting up there. But even when I went out with my dad in our lake here in Oregon, we ended up going around the edge where the grass had at the time we call it like cut grass. There's a name for it, but it was really sharp and it'll cut you if you get into it. Little micro cuts, not like fucking razor
Whoa.
blades, but it gets around the motor and the motor just seizes up, and then you have to go in, use a knife, cut all of it. It's
Yeah.
almost like getting hair caught in a roller for a desk, where you get like fuzz from your cat stuck in it, and you're like,
Sure.
it
Yeah.
stops the desk. You're like, how is it possible that a little tuft of hair stops a desk from rolling? But then you go in there and you start pulling on it. It's wound really tight. That happens in those. Yeah. So yeah, those boats are awesome, man. I can't wait. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff I think they could do I mean, like I'm excited as hell for like Florida. Just
What else is Floridian? Like the crocodiles.
bath salts. No, bath salts is a drug thing, but I would drugs for sure. Importing drugs, drug running, gangs definitely. Old retirement homes are huge there because Frankie lives there from our Discord, and Frankie's
Oh.
talked about like some of the big stuff. But one of the major ones is like old retirement homes, scams, huge number of scams for retirees, all kinds of crazy criminal stuff that goes on there. Fucked up weather. Hurricanes and stuff like that.
Tornadoes and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
think that
hurricanes.
will be in the game? Like,
Holy shit, dude!
that'd be wild.
Leave it up to them to be like, we're doing the first ever hurricane tech for a video game.
That would be awesome,
Getting
man.
your house prepared for a hurricane before it hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
sure.
know. I don't know. They've got a lot of stuff. I mean, it is
So
a
hurricanes
crazy
are
thing.
the
Yeah,
land
hurricanes are the
ones,
giant
right?
storms. Yeah,
The-
yeah.
the
Well,
big ones.
they usually start over warm water, and then they come over and they actually lose power when they go over land. But Florida's the penis of America. It's just this flaccid.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yes.
some
there.
hurricanes will just double ball it and go like over it, back over it. Fucking like just like an
Almost
eraser.
like a car.
It's like
a
an
car
eraser
going
if you draw
over
something
and
bad on
back.
an art design. Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just it's a. I mean, even even when you talk to Frankie, he'll be like, dude, he'll tell you about some story or something like that. It always sounds like a fun place to live, but I mean, it's got some dangers. I can't wait, man. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the games where I am excited for, because a lot of games I'll be more
Did
apathetic.
they have earthquakes too, or no?
Damn. That's a good question. I have no clue if they have. I don't.
Because in my mind, I have this picture of them having every.
You're
single
probably thinking of it
natural
now as like
disaster.
some kind of like hell on earth.
It's
which I
just
guess
like
it sorta is.
the central place of
Oh,
natural
street racing.
disasters.
Yeah, Anthony brought up street racing. That's definitely it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Oregon says he doesn't think Florida has very many earthquakes. I say doesn't think they have
Okay.
very many
Prob-
because most places can still have an earthquake even without a fault
They could
anywhere
still
nearby.
have, yeah.
Occasionally have one, but yeah.
But no volcanoes, nothing like that.
No, but I mean, at some point, I think even God looks at a spot and says, "Listen, we can't throw.
They've had
everything."
enough.
Like,
They're
yeah,
okay
like,
with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
God's like, dude, seriously, this place is rough already, and these guys are making
Give
it
those
worse.
guys a break.
We'll give them a
That's
break.
that's what I feel like about Japan and like certain places in the East, where dude, like they really sample every single natural disaster from.
Yeah, they got a
you
little
know,
sampling
every
of
now and then.
everything. It was like tsunami
Yes.
right after an
They're like,
earthquake,
listen,
hurricane. Yeah,
you might not get the biggest ones, but you'll get one of each every
Yeah.
now and then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. GTA. Yeah, there's a bunch of
Rough.
stuff that they could
GTA
do.
Japan coming soon.
GTA Japan, dude. Yeah, and they, Japan, GTA Japan would go hard on some
It
of
would
the
be like
weird stuff.
Yakuza meets.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah. I thought
fun.
Yakuza was weird at the starting, but man, I bet you they would raise it up a level. There would be some crazy
Yeah.
stories going on in that game. Yeah, I just want to. I mean, I don't know any of the sports down there. There's also the sport I always talk about. They showed at the starting of Miami Vice where they have the ball in it looks like Tron. They have the big. It's like a chute, and there's a name for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's going to remember it.
Mhm.
And those things injure people all the time because you're hinging.
Oh,
And when you're throwing it, it's like 300 miles an hour instead of 100 because you had it
Yeah,
at the
that's
end of
crazy.
the chute. And you see the videos where people are just winging that thing. And I got to tell you, I know it's not a popular sport that you hear about very much. Something that's not super popular, that's well built, I would play the shit out of in GTA. So I'm actually excited for that. I hope they do it. I don't think they will. It depends, man, because those guys will just add something into a game because
They
they've
could,
been working
yeah.
on it for 11 years. Like, you have no clue.
What about water sports? Is that I imagine that's big in Florida, like windsurfing,
Okay, just making sure we're talking
kite
about the right thing.
surfing. No.
I mean, they film
Well,
stuff
that too.
there.
Honestly, that too. Let's be honest.
Well, the boat racing will
Maybe.
be there, but I mean, they do
The-
have,
the-
yeah, like boat.
I'm sure
They do a
foreign
race off.
industry
I think they
is
do
something
jet
they
boat
could.
racing there too. So there would be that. Yeah.
Yeah, jet skis.
Yeah, you could do that. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, Florida isn't small necessarily, so it's like there's stuff that we might not even think of. Like, I know they have arena football, so it's like you'd have an arena
Mhm.
football game. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
An arena football game. Like, I don't know. It's GTA, man. I mean,
Yeah.
like, who knows? What? How many mini games has each one had? They've had. It was 2, I think, in 5 and 2 and 6. Is that right? I think it was 2 and well, they have maybe they had darts in 4. I can't remember, but I know they had bowling and pool in 4 because we saw those last night, and I hadn't played it in long enough. I couldn't remember. 6 for sure had golf and
Didn't
what was the
5
other
have
one? I
tennis?
just said yes, golf and tennis.
Yeah.
Golf and
Oh,
tennis.
yeah.
So maybe they've only had 2 apiece. Maybe they've had 2
Yeah,
mains and then
something
the
like
little
that.
bar
And then smaller
bar-
ones.
Yeah, the little bar sports. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Wave race. Ooh,
Would be
people talking
cool
about that.
though. You were talking about the other water sports, like maybe a porn industry side mission where
So
like
listen.
you're just as a hustle.
Listen, if you were to do a GTA in Cali, a GTA in
Yeah.
Florida, and you don't cover some of that stuff, it would be weird.
That's almost cultural.
I'm assuming there'll be, even if it's just a bad guy,
Yeah.
or something. Just like if you did Vegas, you'd have to cover some of that. Not now as much. Vegas is sort of like the fucking Disneyland of like children now. It's not even what it was. But if you did one in the past, you would want to cover some of the mafia stuff and some of the questionable shit. I would, Florida.
Yeah.
Florida. Yeah, it'd be weird. Oh my God, you're a house cleaner. You're a bed and breakfast cleaner.
Oof.
After maybe that's how he makes his money.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not shaming. That's how you make your cash. That's how you make your cash. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I wouldn't do it. Or I'd make sure I had a lot of shots of penicillin. Yeah, and CB just reminded me GTA did have some adult film stuff in different GTAs. Didn't Ballad of Gay Tony also have? Oh, you know what, dude? The side missions in Ballad of Gay Tony, and then there was I believe there's a side mission in the other one, the Sons of Anarchy styled DLC, the expansion, Lost in the Damned. For some reason, I think they did have some hints of other stuff like that too.
Mm.
Eternal says Vice City's confirmed. Yeah, I think what's going on with that, I don't know if they're releasing those day one or if those are going to come later. I don't know if they said if they're going to, who knows? That's the other thing, man. If we
Yeah.
overguess, I'm going to be mad because I'm going to be like, oh man, I shouldn't have expected that much. On the other hand, it's been 10 years and it's them. So it is possible that just a ton of shit is in that game. Like stuff that we never expected would be in there. I would like to see what you said when you were talking earlier about skate parks and like manage it. I did like GTA 5 where you could play golf and you could play tennis, but they were pretty shallow.
Yeah.
I would like to see the stuff you see in GTA Online, buying apartments and,
Yeah,
like,
I think
can you do silly
general
stuff?
side hustles are an awesome addition to a game like this.
Yeah.
You could do a few like the heists and things, but yeah, I would like to see full on, maybe not professions full on, but like I was saying, maybe you have a porn place that you work and you go like
Dude, Scarface did it
manage
great.
some stuff.
Scarface, the video game, Scarface 2.
Yeah,
Godfather 2 and Scarface on the original Xbox both had a ton of like grifts,
yeah,
stuff
right.
on the side that was like,
Yeah, stuff on the side.
confidence games or all kinds of, cons. And then I think it was Godfather 2. Maybe it was also Scarface, but where you could have ownership of the buildings, make money from them, and there were, like brothels, like that kind of stuff. That'd be really cool. I mean, just because, it's them. Some companies may shy from that. I just don't see them shying from it, right? Like,
Right.
I don't see them waking up in the morning going, "We're going to pretend that paid for sex doesn't exist." I feel like they're one of the few companies that'd be like, "Not only does it exist, we're going to, cover some of the crazy
Yeah.
shit."
Yeah, I think they would.
Also, I just saw it looks like PS5 Pro, Assassin's Creed Shadows details PS5 Pro enhancements, including extended ray tracing. That's interesting. What's extended ray? Probably just a
Hmm.
higher level. Here's a full breakdown for Shadows. PS5 has performance mode, 2160p, upscaled 60 FPS, selective ray tracing. PS5 Pro fidelity mode, PS5 balance mode. PS5 Pro has performance mode, standard ray tracing, 2160p, upscaled 60 FPS. That's weird because that's the same as the PS5 Pro or the PS5 normals. But then it also has one 2060 upscaled 30 FPS extended ray tracing, and a balanced mode requires 120 or 240 hertz display and HDMI
Okay.
2.1. Man, dude, with TVs, that's one of the things that sucks about TVs. Oh, they also have a 40 FPS mode for the Pro. The one thing that sucks about TVs is a lot of them still don't have 2.1 that a lot of people own. They've got the HDMI 2. So, like, some of
Yeah.
the features they can't do, which sucks. That's interesting. Extended ray tracing. See, that sucks. In a weird way, that sucks that, like, the Pro or, anything that extended ray tracing is where the power is going to go versus
Yeah.
all the other stuff that you could possibly do. It's like, oh, great. So you're going to get, longer
Some more reflections.
reflections. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, we get it. But Bep says, I wonder how they will go about GTA Online. Do they just expand the original or have a new one and want people to move over?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
that is
talked about
the
this.
$1 million question, or like multiple
Billion.
billion-dollar question.
Dude, the biggest question ever is how do you move people from GTA 5
Yeah.
online to GTA 6? It is going to
Yeah.
be a fucking
That's a big puzzle for
shit
them.
show.
The good thing is they don't need to fix this puzzle day one, because like day one, totally fine for them to not have an online.
Right.
And here, here's the single player game, and then at a later date, they can have a crack at the online.
I just feel like that's oh hard, man. You've got to make it worth it. Like, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be so crazy. And then if it doesn't work and move people, you now have two full support teams trying to figure out how to support 5 and 6 online or whatever they decide to do. It's just a disaster,
Either way,
man. Or
yeah,
it's a
disaster.
possible disaster is what I'm saying. Yeah, it could be
It's
a
really, it's a really hard problem to solve.
Yeah. And the thing is that's why they already announced that it was going to be late, because they were, I mean, it's just like get the single player out and be out there. And then how do you roll? they're gonna have to get the single player set up so that it doesn't impact the multiplayer. Multiplayer doesn't, you don't want you disconnected from a server and you're on a single player game. You're like, seriously?
Yep.
Like, why are we getting this? So they want that to all nail it. And then the one day where they're gonna try to pull, I mean, what do? Do you give everybody a ton of shark cards and update their models of their cars? They're gonna want to resell you whatever car in the new one. Like, that's going to be
Yep.
that's going to be the thing that they want to do. And they're certainly not going to want to continue supporting 5 forever, because that's costing them absolute just fucking insane amounts of money. They're going to want you to rebuy into 6 and buy more stuff in 6. And I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, they did fail. Red Dead 2 failed. Red Dead 2 Online is bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not good. It is the opposite of good. It is bad online. They did terrible support for it. Wasn't working well when it first came out, had all kinds of issues. So they can fail. I think people think that those guys can't fail, and it's like, that's not the way it works, man. And we've seen it. How many times have we seen it where, Cyberpunk was the same way? We had people in here, even when we were doing the podcast and we were talking about Cyberpunk, and they were like, oh, well, they made Witcher 3. It's like, who gives a shit? It doesn't. If one success meant you would always succeed, then we wouldn't have a bad Sony port. We just have one good Sony port, and every port after that would get better and better. It's not the way the fucking world works. I wish it did, though. We wouldn't be in Spider-Man 2 shoes right now, which has had all kinds of issues. What else we got? Anything?
So I got 3 scientific facts for you.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay. So the first fact is a day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus.
On Earth. Oh, you mean, because it spins slower than it goes around
the spin is slower than the full
awesome?
Rotation around the sun. It blew my mind. So I don't know what's going on. If maybe it's the distance, it's
no, it just has a really slow rotation. Really slow rotation on its axis.
Do you know what influences the speed of rotation? Is it based on the size?
No. Because Jupiter, this is one of the questions Neil deGrasse Tyson recently answered about why is it possible that the red storm on Jupiter lasts so long? And he was talking about like how Earth creates its own hurricanes because of it's the atmosphere. And we have such a small atmosphere, but all of Jupiter is atmosphere. And so it's like the amount of power there is 800 billion gillion what we are. But when it comes to spin, it also has to do with how it came together. Like if it came together and there were whenever it came together, its mass does have something to do with it. But it's not the only planet that's got weird shit. I mean, you have planets that are flipped on their side. There's all kinds of science behind it. Well, most of the science indicates it got hit, like a planet got hit. But yeah, you've got, what is it? Is it Neptune or it's Neptune, right? That's flipped over? No, Uranus. Yeah, it's Neptune. No, it's Uranus, but it's flipped over and it's spinning like this, which indicates that like something smashed it. So, which would be, I wish we could go back in time and just watch, like.
Yeah, give me a time lapse. Like,
what was going on? They're all spinning, and then something comes in, off axis from the solar systems. The axis of the solar system just hits that thing and causes what's going like this to go like that. That's nuts. That's scary as shit. That's remember you were talking about fear of galactic sizes and distances? That's nuts.
Yeah, creeps me out.
Yeah, awesome.
This is going to be a really dumb question, okay? You know how when we see pictures of the solar system, the plane, like all the planets are on the same plane in the picture, right? So you have like
or somewhat. There's a couple that are
somewhat. So you have like the different radiuses of the planets and everything, but they when you look at a picture, they're almost like on a dish.
Yeah, they especially galactically, I would assume they feel pretty flat. Yeah. What about it though?
Yeah. Is that real? Are they actually on more or less like a similar plane, or do we have like completely different, like one planet going
no,
like this? And
that's why they're looking for planet like 10, 11, whatever, however you do it now, they are looking off axis to see if because a couple of them are like this, but galactically it's flat as fuck. But for us, I
Right.
mean, there's definitely, that's why you do get otherwise if they were all flat, you would have many times where you would have like 9 lined up in a row, because just by the way things spin, you'd be like, oh, they're definitely on a specific plane. And the reason why it is more rare is because different ones spin at different angles and stuff.
Right.
It's pretty insane when you think, though, that like I remember when I was growing up, so like maybe when I was reading this in the 90s where they were like, oh, there might be planet Vulcan. They were at that time they just called it Vulcan, I think because of Spock, literally. But they were like, planet Vulcan might be this other planet that's off axis, because we keep looking and we keep seeing like certain things that look like they're pulled out. And then it sort of died down. Oh, there's no such thing. And now, like, especially Cool Worlds. Do you ever listen to Cool Worlds?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of the best science podcasts there is.
YouTube
That guy.
Channel.
He's a little too. Today we will. He's a little too like psychiatrist. Like, tell me how you feel. But I love his videos, and he always has like the other planet people come on and talk about like the possibility of, you know, like where something might be and stuff. I love that kind of shit. Like those, that's another podcast. Even though the person had asked us what weird ones we listen to, Cool Worlds isn't weird, but I love that.
Yeah. No, I listened to a bunch of those, like even like PBS, Space Time, and stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What else? The other thing I saw is that clouds are actually heavy as fuck. So.
Oh, you mean our clouds? Yeah, dude, they're tons and tons and tons.
Dude,
yes.
A single cumulus of clouds can weigh around 500 tons.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know that's why you get the occasional rainstorm that starts instantly too? Is because at some point it condenses, and they were talking about that in one of the science magazines. Because I still read some magazines, some like Magster, I think is the website I go to, but you can pay a certain amount of money.
Or
well, no, these will be digital. Yeah, but I think it was Astronomy Today or something. But they were talking about like that's why sometimes you'll watch a video and you'll see what looks like rain over here, and a lot of people think rain sort of peters out. But it actually, like in some places it doesn't, because the rain collapses. It gets super, like all the precipitation gets heavy, and then you'll just see it go like, bam, and it comes out. But what they're really talking about is like if you contained it all and stuff like that. But it is still pretty crazy that when you think about it floating, and you're like, oh, there's nothing up there.
Yeah, because it's obviously less dense than air. That's why they float.
Yeah, but I mean, it is spread out. But if you contained it
all. But it's so spread out.
And smashed it up, yeah.
It would be so heavy.
Dude, it's also cool when you look at like how many different cloud types there are, and you see some that are like super rare, and you know it'll almost look like a spaceship or something. You know, you'll see like a perfect cloud formation. Yeah. You're like, dude, is that CGI? And then you'll find out it's like 1980s or somebody took a picture of a very particular cloud that just looked almost like the sides. Do you remember the little toys that have the sand and oil mixed in? You flip them over, and the oil and sand mix, and you get the weird designs.
Never seen that.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
Well, sometimes normally when you do it, it's separate because it's entropy, chaos. Like they're not aligned. But sometimes if you own one and you flip it over, sometimes for reasons that's very difficult to understand, two will do almost the same thing. And it becomes this almost, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost alien. You'll be like, whoa, what the hell? They're both doing the exact same design right now. And that's whenever I see those kind of clouds that look like they're almost cut out of a shape, it gives that uncanny valley thing where you're like, dude, there's definitely an alien living in that right now. They're like scanning Earth. Sure. That's where the drones come from.
I guess this only makes sense when you have a really giant cloud, right?
Oh, for sure.
So we're talking like
yeah, but I mean,
football field, whatever.
Oh, bigger than that, yeah,
or bigger than that. Because if you had like a tiny, teeny cloud, you know, that would be light as hell.
Yeah,
right. That'd be very light.
Astronomy stuff is always cool, especially because as scientists, they're cool with changing their minds on something. It is a little disturbing though. Like you will hear, you know, when something really is weird, like the age of something, where they're like, okay, so you'll hear somebody say, oh, this star's too old, and they're already figuring out ways where like something can come together. Like, well, we just figured that at this many million years, shit wouldn't have been able to form because it was too hot, so we're gonna have to rejigger some stuff. But then you'll have somebody like come up with something like, dude, this doesn't make any sense at all. Like, I like that. That's probably the only place there's mystery other than the deep ocean. And frankly, I think I'm better handling space because it's not filled with squids that want to eat me with their fucking
Yeah,
parabeaks.
the squids,
Yeah,
man.
like if you either one.
Oh,
Yeah, space stuff is always cool.
yeah.
The other one that I always like is so this is sort of some people are bothered by this, but we send satellites out and you send a plaque, right? And the plaque has like a woman on it, a man on it,
Yeah.
some stuff. And there's always been the thing about like, oh, okay, so we put a man and a woman on there, blah blah blah. And you hear people say, oh, we're talking to alien races, they're gonna come, and they'll see that and they'll fucking decide to
Right.
fly here.
Yeah, we got
And
some of our stuff in there, like some,
yeah,
music chart or whatever.
yeah, but I do find it funny that when you look, I don't know why, but I guess I always thought this as a kid. I'm like, listen, man, you're throwing that thing out there. Like the chances of anything intelligent finding is 0. But then you do hear when he was alive, what's his name? In the wheelchair.
Carl Sagan?
No.
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking would be like, why should we probably shouldn't call aliens? And I was like, dude, seriously, if they're able to answer, they're gonna find us anyway. It's not like he was like, oh, we shouldn't send messages to aliens. It's like we already have. Like our radio broadcasts are already out there.
True.
The other
We
thing
would
I thought
already
was
be
cool.
screwed.
The other thing I thought was cool because you and I have talked about the Great Filter. Like, does something destroy civilizations? But one of
The Fermi paradox.
yeah, all
Where
that kind of
are
stuff.
the aliens?
The one thing that I always like realizing is that since we've only transmitted for a certain time, it's like, did a bunch of races transmit for like 200 years? And they just stop transmitting, or they die, or whatever? Or is the fact that, like, you'll hear people say, oh, it should be filled with life? It's like, should it, or are we first? Like, it's
Right.
the moment you're able to ask a question means you can
It would
be
suck
special.
to be the first to.
But it would be,
in a
it
way.
would suck because
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get off Earth. Like, it seems like we're probably not going to.
Yeah, we're
But
facing some.
It's like,
some
are
pretty...
we like one century ahead of,
Yeah.
so there's other people, well, not people,
And then
but there's other races,
we're gonna-
alien races going like,
You know,
man, I wonder if
we're gonna
somebody's
go
out there."
extinct because of
Yeah.
TikTok or
And-
like some other.
Yeah.
And
or you'll
it.
get a message and we'll decide, oh, let's send some people there, and you go there and it's like 2 days after that message was sent, they nuked each other.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It is tragic to think that millions of civilizations could have been sending messages for like 100 years, like you said.
Yep, and
But
stopped
they
right
just went
before we were
extinct.
able to. Yeah.
Yeah, they stopped before or like whatever. We didn't
Dude,
get
it's
the
like
message.
it's like the planet goes by just as we're able to hear. You know,
Yeah.
they just
And
stopped
also,
for that
like,
day.
The tragic thing too is like by the time we see something or we get something, it would already be so many millions of years in the past because of like
Yeah.
light speed and stuff that realistically we wouldn't be able to actually, do anything with
There's
like, hey, we found a civilization, but
Yeah.
they're gone.
There's
It's
a
like
cool
the South
sci-fi
Park meme,
book that covers trying to figure out the math too. There's a cool sci-fi book that was covering the math of trying to get somewhere and having it been like, even if it's a small amount of time, by the time you get there, that planet's on the outside of a galactic
they're
rim now,
gone.
and trying to figure out where they, space shows, movies, they don't care about that, which is fine. Or they go faster than the speed of light, which is also fine. I don't care. I don't get too.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he'll talk about like, well, the weather pattern is not right. I understand where he's coming from because that's Earth that he's talking about. And if it's if it's a science fiction show or something and they're covering Earth, it makes sense. But like other, like, who knows? I love that kind of stuff though. I just don't want to get invaded by an alien that really likes our feet. Just like one part of our bodies.
That's oddly specific.
I'm just
But
saying.
I think, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, what if they just grab you, bite your feet off, and leave you, just like toss you, like they don't care? It would suck.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
saying,
that would suck.
I'd be one of those guys who built up. That'd be why I'd build a bunker. You get the preppers who are always
Yeah.
talking about like building bunker. I'd build a bunker, for aliens.
What if all the civilizations that are at the point where they could communicate with others just don't because they're dead scared of other civilizations at their level?
Dude, that's always bothered me whenever I hear that, because I don't think their civilizations would look like ours if they're that scared. Because the one thing about humanity is we're pretty stupid and we're pretty risk taking.
Or like stupid / brave. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
Thin line.
you need to be brave. You're technically supposed to be able to feel fear. So it's like if you are brave, you have to have fear because otherwise bravery doesn't matter because you're not really
Yeah.
overcoming something. But yeah, I've always been bothered by that because I'm like, dude, I don't even know if their civilizations would look the same. The other one that we were talking about in the chat was like if it's a seafaring race. Like I joked in the chat going, does a dolphin think it's flying into space when it leaps out of the water?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, you know what I mean? Like that to it would that's all it can see. It sees the top of the ocean or it sees like the shimmering of the ocean as like its sky leaps out occasionally, just like we jump up in
Yep.
the air. But it's like if other that would be cool to go to another planet and find something like aquatic, you know. And then their technology if they had any. I mean, how do you build something underwater? Like the entire
Yeah.
technology wouldn't even, you know. Like it'd be cool to see crystals.
Everything else would be different.
There's a very
Yeah.
good sci-fi book where the technology was based on crystals because they can carry charge and they're super strong, like beyond belief strong. So you could actually build stuff with that and like what they would look like, but probably look like nothing. I'm not going to find them. I don't think anything's going to happen
Yeah.
here. What do you think about drones? Like all the drone stuff, people are like, oh my god, there's drones everywhere. Drones are at our fucking airports. These drones are anything but drones, by the way. Which is even funnier to me because drone technology's caught on and people see more drones and they're like, for sure aliens. And I'm like, dude, okay. We do it's like, what? But what do you think about that? Do you think like 90% of the shit that is seen is just drones? Or do you actually think like some alien race really just wants to dive bomb us? Like Tom
I
Cruise
think
in
it
Top
is
Gun.
either drones or other stuff like satellites moving really quickly, maybe stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think it is all that, sadly. And what's also it makes me sad that I do think other civilizations would be similar to us, just because I don't know. I mean, the reality is we don't know, but if I had to place a bet, I would bet that the carbon style biology is what's most likely because we
Most
know
likely.
carbon is super abundant, right, everywhere, and like similar chemistry compositions in a lot of the planets we see. So it just, I think that that would be the boring reality that a lot of stuff, if there is life in other places, would be not similar to us necessarily, but the tree of life, might be along the same line.
DNA is pretty cool when you track it and like figure out how that
Yeah,
packages data. The one thing that I do wonder about though, and it's only hitting science, it's hit science a couple times, is chirality, which is I've told you this before, but you have like we'll just call it left-handed and right-handed chemical
yeah,
structures, and most of Earth is one particular side. There's only a couple things that are the other side. So now they're telling scientists, please don't fuck with it because if you do and it gets out, our immune systems wouldn't even see it. Like all of our chemical structures don't respond to it. And the idea that you could go to another planet, its entire situation is all the
mm,
offhandedness, which would mean
yeah.
it could look exactly 100% in all ways, shapes, or form like Earth. And then you land and every single thing is poisonous.
Wow.
Beyond just normal stuff, but
Yeah,
chirality is
like
creepy too because
kryptonite or
it
something.
works really well for some meds, but when you look at like um the it's not I'll have to look this up. The name of it was the fertility drug in the 60s, formaldehyde, I think. Formaldehyde. Yeah, so thi thalidomide. God damn, that's hard to pronounce. But basically, what it
Take your
was
word
it's
for it.
yeah, it was a fertility drug, and you have left and right, and they gave the wrong kind. It looked like it was working, but the wrong kind caused people to have their arms at their shoulders, babies to be deformed and stuff like that. But there's a lot of
Oh my god.
pesticides
Wow.
that are the other side can sometimes work because we don't react to them, but you know a particular like insect kind. And there's
Chemistry
been a
is
couple.
scary, man.
I think there's a couple
Yeah.
blood pressure medications that are their chiral doesn't work on its own, nor does the normal, but mix them together for whatever reason, they absolutely like defeat. So if you have when you have
Mm,
blood pressure, because always had high blood pressure. When you have blood pressure meds, you have like your stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and the more you go down, the more other side effects they cause as you're trying to make sure the person doesn't explode like a fucking balloon. So you're like, you know, you don't
Yeah.
give somebody the level 3 one day one because it causes some side effects. But a couple of those are chiral, where they'll have both together, and there's some science behind it, but it's quite crazy that like if you mix the two, sometimes it's super like
Yeah.
definitely works better than the other kind. But yeah, the idea of going
Yeah.
to another planet and going, dude, trees, forest, fucking this is awesome. Landing and just being like, row, all these are, you know, I mean,
Kind of hoped for
that's
something.
aside from
Yeah.
like biological normal stuff like that we already had. And you know, when we landed in America and killed a bunch of people with like infections and stuff, that's just the normal shit. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. I also wanted to talk about some AI thing that I think is quite useful. Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is that website where you upload a PDF and it creates a podcast. Two people talk about it. The cool thing about that website, man, is you can upload like 19 PDF source files. So any science it doesn't have to be science. It could be like anything, games, whatever. You upload it and it creates two podcasters. Unfortunately, they're the same two people right now all the time, a guy and a girl. They sound the same. But I was pretty impressed when I uploaded stuff. They have the new interactive mode. So while they're talking, you can ask a question and they'll be like, oh, hang on, somebody's asking a question. And they rejigger the entire podcast around your question. So
Damn.
it's pretty insane. It's definitely up
Crazy.
there, and it's super helpful for learning. Because if you want to like learn something and you have a bunch of research papers or whatever, you upload it to it, or just game stuff, I guess. But you can do
They're giving you the cliff notes of the.
yeah, and you can even tell
in a
them be
way.
hyper detailed. You can say be like researchers. You can say just be like a gaming podcast. You can tell them anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if anybody
I mean,
wants
that
to
is
check
the
that
future
out, it's
too,
called
man.
Notebook LM. What were you saying?
That is the future. You'll be able to say, "Hey, give me the cliff notes of this book and explain it to me in a way." Maybe you could say, "Explain it to me as if you're Neil deGrasse Tyson," if you happen to like his way of explaining stuff.
Well, and you can. That to me, that's one of the cool things because I'm not saying replace learning or reading at all. I'm talking about like
No.
if you and I haven't used it
Yeah.
yet, but if I ever needed it and you and I are in here and we're going to talk about something, and it's like you don't want to talk deep about it, but you just want some, like
Yeah.
you said, I guess you
Bring
could
up
say
a
cliff
topic
notes,
for
but they
conversation.
talk pretty deep sometimes. But yeah, the ability for people to learn that stuff, it's just a step forward in another way. I don't
Yeah.
think it should replace books and shit because I think that kind of stuff is like
Well, it never will,
beyond
because
belief
like the
useful
level,
for
your
humans.
level of understanding won't be the same from reading a full book compared to
Yeah.
because it's the same thing here when we talk. I can regurgitate some cool stuff that I hear in videos and stuff. It doesn't mean that I understand it
Yeah.
at
Exactly.
any sort of deep level where I could like
Yeah. Break
write
it
an
down and do
equation
the
for you
math.
or break it down. Yeah, so it's just levels, right? Like we can talk conversationally about black holes and stuff.
Oh,
Doesn't mean that
speaking about
I
the
can
math,
explain.
you did hit something. I did upload about 3 documents to it to ask it to explain how a formula on a TV show or movie is done because I could never understand scientific formula. So when you see like Interstellar and you have that giant chalkboard,
Yeah,
I've
the
always
chalkboard.
been I know sort of why it's done and how it's written, but sometimes you'll see somebody delete the center and rewrite, and I'm always like, well, I don't understand how you would. Is somebody that smart that they can delete the center and are they all that smart? What have you? So I uploaded some stuff and I said, could you please explain to me the set, like how the mathematics is written and like what you can do. It was awesome. Like they were like
Yeah,
explaining, this equals this, that equals that, and it's
yeah,
obviously far more than let's say the Fermi paradox. These are the ones that like I think Interstellar is one of them where it's a chalkboard, and I think one of them like and Eureka did it where there was a whole chalkboard and somebody comes up and erases a little bit and rewrites it, and I'm like, wait,
yeah,
how how the hell are they? Because it seems so complex. It is complex, by the way. Most of that shit's they're not deleting it unless they're one of the top
yeah.
tier scientists or something like that. I also felt bad. Speaking of Stephen Hawking, dude, it's weird to me that it is cosmically ironic that that guy had all of his issues, and he's like
Yeah.
one of the and I remember talking about it with one of my friends, and he's like, dude, who knows? What if he was athletic or whatever, got
If
out
he didn't
and
have that,
died,
yeah.
did something, got in a race car, it's like, you know, we generational mind kind of
Do
thing.
you think he would have done just like 10x what he did if he didn't have?
Oh,
Because
that's a
he
good
had to
question.
do some of the stuff in his own head, like some
Yeah.
of the calculations, because he couldn't just grab a piece of paper, right?
Isn't
And he
your best
did quantum
thinking done when
mechanics
you're
in his head.
isn't the best, not the best. Some of the best writing or some of the best thinking is done when you're quiet. I bet you it helped a great deal. But he was
It can
already super
help,
smart before he
but
started
the
keeping
thing
count.
is, our brains have a limit of how much you can keep
Yeah.
in like in memory. It's almost like RAM,
Yeah.
right? If you want to think of it that way. And that's the utility of writing things down in a way, is that you can take it from A to B much more systematically. Whereas if you have to keep track of all the variables and everything
But
in your
here's the thing.
head,
He didn't have to keep track of walking. He didn't have to keep track of like doing the things that you and I do, all the other
so
stuff. So maybe his brain was just like, well, I'm
mm,
not worried about all these I literally can't experience all these other things. So maybe his brain was
oh,
just like, okay,
so what I
it
hear from
has
you
extra RAM.
is like maybe he's so tunneled on that all
Well, he
like
had to
all
be,
day
right?
that
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe.
dude, it was like crazy. Reading some of his papers are awesome though. And I do love that these guys, somebody will write a paper, especially when he was alive, they would write a paper and he'd be like, no. His response would be awesome. It'd just be a no. And you're like, wait, what? And then you'll find
Doesn't check out.
they'll be like, he sat and thought for 6 months and rewrote an entire theory, and you're like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'd want to talk to him because even if like it was a full speed conversation, it'd be
Yeah.
like talking to an alien at that point.
Talk about attention span, man. You just like working in your head a theory for months.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, it's crazy. And
yeah.
it is also crazy that other people are that smart that don't, or like Feynman or whatever, where you hear him talking,
Yeah.
you're like, what the shit? That dude's on another, like that dude's on another level. I remember, I think he's the one who did Interstellar, right? Feynman?
No. Do you mean
What was,
consulting?
who was the one who helped? Yeah, who was the one who did the? Because I told you
It
about
was
the
the
novel.
Nobel Prize.
It wasn't
Kip Thorne.
Kip Thorne.
Kip Thorne.
Kip Thorne. So somebody was, I think it was Neil, was asking Kip Thorne a question about Interstellar. He hated. He didn't like a part of Interstellar, and Kip Thorne already knew where the question was going. He's like, actually,
Right.
blah, blah, and it was a tangent, right? It was like, I don't know what it was, but it was like, why are oranges slightly larger on the table than whatever, some fucking like arcane science thing. And that dude already, he was like, actually, if you look at like page 26 of the book, I talk about that, and there's a reason why. And it was just like,
he talks about that. Yeah, that guy is a mad genius too.
yeah,
it's crazy how some people just.
I like to surround myself
human.
with stupid people, right? Like, that's what you should do. Surround yourself with stupid people. You feel smart. Ignorance is bliss,
that's why
man.
we've been friends for
that's
so
why
long.
we've been.
I see.
That is not what I meant, but that is awesome. Anyway, we got anything else before we wrap it up?
I have one last fact. So some stuff is so well preserved in permafrost that we have stuff from like the Ice Age that still has hair, organs, soft tissue. Like the limbs are still like you can move them and everything. That's how well preserved some stuff is. And I was thinking, I mean that first of all, that's kind of crazy that just freezing something preserves it so well, but for so long. But I was thinking, are we getting close to like what would you call it? Like a frost where you could freeze someone and then resurrect them later on, like almost a Walt Disney
head, like Walt Disney's head
type situation. Yeah.
The major issue that they have two major issues. The one that I know about that they always talk about is that freezer burn. Same thing, like freezer burn for meat, where the cells of the your membrane cells get busted when it freezes because water expands and we're made of water. However, there's the one frog you and I've talked about that basically freezes in ponds, and then when it gets warm, its body has a particular sugar in its blood, and that sugar stops that particular thing from happening. And they even joke around calling it like antifreeze, right? Where they're like, and
Just
over a
inject us
particular,
with a little bit of,
right, and so,
you
so
know,
over a particular
frog
time, this frog,
juice.
there's a video, a time lapse you can see on YouTube where this frog freezes in the lake, freezes completely, zero life. They're like, for all intents and purposes, this thing, there's no heartbeat, nothing, it's frozen. But then when it gets warmer, the sugar reacts and causes the electrical like stimulus in the heart, and it also
Mm.
stops all that blood from, or whatever's in its, like how it transfers all of its oxygen and stuff through its body. All that stuff warms up, and over time you see this tongue go and lick its own eye, and it slowly comes alive and leaps off. And I was
Wow.
like, dude, that's awesome. And so I know that they've been talking about that. Like, if there's the possibility, it would be something like that, where remember how in one of the best parts of The Expanse, even though it's unrealistic as shit, is they inject them with a chemical that basically causes sort of an anti-G suit in them so that they don't
Yeah.
get busted, right? Even though a couple people do get busted up. Um, for that in particular, that's the one thing that everybody's been talking about is, would it be possible, even if you had a person breathing super, super, super slow and having a super long heartbeat, they would still, like, if everything was slowed down, you wouldn't age, and you would still be able to keep somebody alive with the electronics we have. But the
Yeah.
problem is freezing somebody at that point, we don't have there's no chemical structure we have yet. But I know they are always looking for that, because there's always millionaires who've got their heads frozen. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the one news article said there was over like 500 millionaires or billionaires who've frozen their bodies in the hope that the diseases that they have or
Yeah.
whatever,
Exactly.
you know.
Will be cured. Because what I thought is, what I've always heard is that the problem is we can freeze, but we can't defrost.
You
Like once you
we
defrost, it
can't
just
freeze. Well,
falls apart.
you can flash freeze, but you're still gonna. The problem is the human brain. It
It's
destroys it.
still
It just
it's
like
fa-
it does
also
do
like
actual physical damage. But
if
the
we don't
unfreezing is
have
very
oxygen
impossible.
actively going to the brain, like that also kills the brain, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Even
but
if it's
if you freeze it again, frost or like freeze or burn is the easiest comparison. But
yeah.
if you do freeze something to that like near zero, there's no chemical structure happening. It's frozen or it's super slow. So yeah, you could.
Right.
But like you said, bringing somebody back out is the other one, because you have to bring them out slowly. And from
I
what
guess maybe the bet is that you freeze me, and in the future we'll figure it out. Like we'll have the tech in the future to defreeze.
So every scientist that I've ever read on this subject says the same thing. The way they were frozen would kill them if we learn how to unfreeze them. You have to have both correct.
Oh, right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
would need to prep for it. It's
Yeah,
not like you
because
can.
most likely a chemical structure has to be inside. You have to have it in your body when you're frozen, so that way when you're unfrozen, they can react almost like an
Yeah.
MRI machine or something, where they figure out,
No,
oh,
that makes
if we
sense.
inject you
Yeah.
with this thing, then later we can use this other thing, and they haven't done that. So like that's why you hear scientists sort of laughing this off, not laughing it off
Yeah.
because people are worried about dying. I get it, but they laugh it off at the fact that if you're not, if you're, well, for example, again, freezer burn, if you're frozen incorrectly, you can still eat that meat, but it tastes like shit, right? And you don't want
Right.
your human brain to have that same experience where you're like, here's freezer burn, but we're going to unfrost. I have a feeling
Yeah.
they'll be able to figure out like slowed animation. They call it, like for travel, slowed animation would actually be really useful, where the person is
Yeah.
there's still something going on, but let's say it's like 1 for 60. That's 60 years.
Stand by.
That's
Yeah.
stand by. The only problem is, dude, every single horror story that really hits me in the heart is when I hear about coma victims having entire lives or being
Yep.
awake the entire time.
You're just locked in there.
If you fucking were put like slowed down, but for whatever, even if it was a slow
You
dream,
never come out.
and
How do you know you'll
wake up,
ever come out?
dude, if you woke up 60 years later and you had dreams that
Yeah.
we've had, I mean, how many times do you have a dream in a week? I can usually remember my dreams 7 days. Usually a nightmare or a uncomfortable dream will happen in 14. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
What
Well,
that
you would need some
you would
type
be
of
nuts.
timeout.
Yeah,
You would need like a guarantee that at least every so often you come off the standby as a security measure. Maybe it's every year.
Oh,
if
a
you're on a long
rotation,
trip.
maybe. Yeah, where you come out for a
Yeah.
week and that's the other
Come
thing.
come out, take a piss, have a shower.
Yeah. Yeah, because we only have a
Yeah.
couple technologies in the world that you would trust for an extended period of time anyway, without a
Oh,
human
dude.
looking over and going,
Yeah.
this might go
Not
bad.
not even my controller. Don't like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, stick drift on a fucking spaceship, you're fucked.
Yep.
You know, oh, it's only
Yep.
off by a degree. We're in a.
All right, great. We're in.
You were talking about planets
Yeah.
doing this. We're like,
Alpha Centauri.
yeah, it's like
One
I
small
hope you
change
find
in
planet
trajectory
Vulcan,
here.
man, because it's up there. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially whenever you're reading about science and stuff like that, I love like G forces. That's fine if you go slow acceleration, all that kind of stuff. It's not like the Expanse where they're twisted and turning, which would juicify a human insect. Like,
Oh yeah, instantly.
I know that the
Immediate.
most G forces ever sustained was the guy who did the rocket sled. If you see the old black and white video, he does the rocket sled, and it was an insane amount. It blew his eyes. It caused all kinds
Wow.
of. He lived, and he lived for a great deal of time. But when I say he lived, I said that because you expected, and most people would expect to say he died, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want that. But if you found a way to like accelerate slowly, then also slow hibernation versus suspended, because suspended means something way different than like just running, you know. But like I said, the dream thing would kill me, man. Like the idea of, and you'd have the crazy guy. You'd wait, like, because biology is weird. You'll have one person who is in a coma. They go to sleep, they wake up, and they're like, "How many years have passed?" And then you have the other person who's in a coma, and they're like, "I saw the last day my dad was, or I heard my dad talking to me the last day before he passed away." And you're like, "Oh, for fuck's sakes," because that humans aren't meant to. I mean, that's what every vampire show is about.
Yeah,
is
we
like
break
humans
pretty
aren't meant-
easily.
and
with
humans
certain
aren't meant to
mental
live
stuff.
for a long time. So I
Yeah.
would want to be out.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought was funny is somebody was saying generation ships were unfair. Listen, so there was a big discussion about generation ships being unfair because the kids didn't get a choice. And I'm like, bitch, what? I didn't get a choice to live in
When
Oregon.
do they get a choice?
When do they get it? What are you talking about? It's a fucking spur. Like if that wouldn't even make sense to me. It's like, yeah, you didn't get a choice. Every single person in the
I didn't
world
choose
get a choice when they were
where I
born.
was born.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
It doesn't. To me, that's not even a conversation piece, and it's coming up a lot now. Where people
Unless
like,
you're
well,
gonna set them up for like a horrible life,
like
and you're
toil.
doing that on purpose, or they're gonna be born with like a really bad malady.
Okay, I have a
or
question.
something.
I have a question. In the last sci-fi book I read, they only sent people who couldn't have kids because they wanted them to set things up, figure out things, send back information that it was fine before they sent people who were fertile. So they sent people who could not have kids. Do you think that's a better idea? To send people who don't have to worry about their children because they might be in a place where that would override. I still think you'd go nuts if you couldn't have kids. I think the idea of not being able to further yourself, no one would probably cause issues too. But do you think it'd be smarter to say, okay, the first trip to let's say it's a 30-year trip. Do you think it'd be smarter to say it's a 30-year trip? We want explorers who can't have kids so that they don't muddy the situation or whatever.
I don't see it that way. I
don't see
really
it that way?
believe that.
You think hope
No,
is better?
as long as it's not a horrible life, you're not setting them up to like a horrible situation. Assuming it's a stable colony where, maybe you live in a dome or something where at least, you can have somewhat of a decent life. I would be okay with that.
See, that's why I think
just a different
sending
reality.
people who can't have kids makes more sense because it is a colony. And universally, when you ever read history, colonies, I mean, for the most part, is a shit life for many, 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 many years. I mean,
it
how many of
could
them
be.
disappear?
Maybe I'm an optimist because I'm thinking you could make something good of it, even if it's not as great as living out in the world.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It'd be cool to see if we get to Mars and stuff like that. It would be awesome to see like what we could do
because
even for a small.
The reason I think would be a good thing is that a big part of why people do stuff is actually to leave it for the next generation.
That's why I brought up that I think both causes issues.
Because some stuff we do now, we know we won't benefit, but we're doing it, because we think it's going to be
a person dies
impactful.
Twice: the day they die and the last day anybody ever reads or says their name. And there's a weird thing that there's like that moment. I remember one time when my grandpa passed away, I remember going a week without thinking about him. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, which is why I get that some people have not worship, but like, you know, where
Yeah.
they make sure to continue to talk about somebody that passed stuff down because like that person was special. But it is pretty creepy when you think about like there'll be a day where Johnny is not Johnny anymore.
Yeah.
There's no
You're gone.
there's
It's
no
like the South Park meme once again.
what's the South
And
Park
it's
meme?
gone. Well, you know the one where
I don't know anything about
uh
South Park. I've watched like 2
okay,
episodes and played the games.
so the kid has $100 in the account,
right.
and the guy says, "Cool, I'm setting you up with an investment," and it's gone. And the kid is like, What do you mean?" "Yeah, sorry, your money is gone, and please vacate the seat because only
Oh,
clients
I see.
of the
I see.
bank
Okay.
can."
Yeah. No,
you know."
that is true. That is true.
And he's like,
I didn't understand the joke for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
So
I
hey,
didn't recreate it correctly, but it's a
no, I
very
get it
funny
now.
South Park bit.
South Park does pretty well.
They
I mean,
got some great bits.
Yeah, they point out like
Yeah, the problem is
civilization.
when you sit for an entire episode, it's like
Too much.
it's too much. I'm with them like 60%, but then it's a bit too much. But the bits are amazing.
Yeah, I have something I was going to surprise you with today with science and AI, but I didn't get the setup because we were late. But there's
Okay.
something I'm going to
Well,
show
next
you.
time.
I think it'll be next week
Yeah.
that I'll tell you about it when we're done with the podcast. But
Okay.
I won't tell
Yeah.
you how I found it. But there's something that I saw that I was like, when I was doing it last night, I was like, we are now. There's one particular thing that has been achieved that I saw a couple news articles on, and I went and tried it, and I was like,
Damn.
we are there. Holy shit. Yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll do it next week. Anyway,
Okay.
that'll be it for us.
Cool.
Carrick's face. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't get that joke, but I do now. Everybody, if you get a chance, check out the Patreon. And this will be live on iTunes, Spotify. I know it didn't go live here, or it didn't go out here correctly, but we're still working on trying to figure out exactly. I'm pretty sure now it might be a PC issue. Except I know somebody just DM'd me while we were doing this. They do a podcast on Friday, and they said that they were having all kinds of issues every Friday. I don't know. Maybe YouTube doesn't like weekends, dude. YouTube's like, fuck, man. We want you guys working. We want you guys at the grindstone. Do you have anything you're streaming this weekend?
Yes, I'm streaming our playthrough of Split Fiction.
Oh,
so Reg and we stream on Twitch. It's a lot of fun. So feel free to tag along if you want to see the game and maybe not play yourself, or if you've already played it. It's really fun. And yeah, on my Johnny Plays channel, I do League content regularly as well. So if you're an enjoyer,
yeah, check out his stuff.
also cool.
You'll see some reviews from me, I think, next week, and some previews and shit like that. Peace out, everybody. I hope you guys have just an awesome weekend.